Hey guys, tonight we're not setting sail into the roughest waters history has to offer. No greasy pirates, no splintery ships creaking in the dark, and no sunburnt sailors arguing over treasure that probably sank years ago. Nope, tonight we're drifting somewhere much colder, much quieter, and far more impressive. The Arctic, and how indigenous engineering defied winters that should have made survival impossible. But before we wander into snow-covered landscapes, frozen winds, and nights that seem to last forever, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you actually enjoy these slow, thoughtful journeys. And leave a comment telling me where you're listening from and what time it is. Somehow, it's always 2 a.m. somewhere. And honestly, 2 a.m. feels like the perfect time to think about warmth, shelter, and clever ways to survive the cold. Now dim those lights. Turn on a fan for that soft, white noise hum. Imagine it as a gentle Arctic breeze, not the kind that steals your soul. Get comfortable, wrap yourself in blankets, and maybe tuck your feet in, not because imaginary rats are planning anything tonight, but because the Arctic is no place for cold toes. Let's pause for a moment. Have you ever wondered how people lived in places where winter isn't a season, but a lifestyle? Where temperatures could freeze breath in midair, sunlight vanished for weeks, and a single mistake could mean the difference between life and death? Tonight, with Sleepy Oogway as your gentle guide, we're exploring the quiet brilliance of indigenous engineering. Not massive castles, not industrial machines, but smart, elegant solutions built from snow, bone, stone, animal skins, and generations of hard-earned knowledge. We'll look at how homes were designed to trap heat instead of losing it, how tools were shaped to work with the environment, not against it, how clothing, shelters, and daily routines were engineered for survival, refined slowly over centuries, tested by some of the harshest conditions on Earth. And yes, there will be moments of struggle, blizzards, hunger, darkness that stretched on and on. But there will also be ingenuity, humor, and resilience, the kind that quietly laughs in the face of impossible odds. This isn't a story of brute force. It's a story of listening to the land, of adapting instead of conquering, of people who understood that survival wasn't about overpowering nature, but cooperating with it. So settle in, let your breathing slow, let the warmth around you feel just a little more comforting. Tonight, we honor the wisdom that kept people alive where the cold never showed mercy, and discover how indigenous engineering turned winter itself into something survivable. Now, let us begin. Chapter 1. The warmth that shouldn't exist. The land stretches outward in every direction, vast and frozen, shaped by wind and patience rather than mercy. Beneath a dim winter sun that never fully rises, the world is painted in pale blues and muted whites. Snow lies packed hard against the earth, and tall, dry grasses rattle softly as the wind cuts through them, sharp and unrelenting. Every breath here feels deliberate, measured, necessary. This is a place where survival is never assumed. The wind moves freely across the open plain, lifting snow into slow, spiraling patterns that drift and settle again, as if the land itself is breathing. There are no trees for shelter, no stone walls, no obvious signs of safety. And yet, standing alone against the horizon, there is something unexpected. A single conical structure rises from the frozen ground. Its shape is simple, elegant, and unmistakably intentional. Narrow at the top, wide at the base, it faces the wind not with defiance, but with understanding. Snow gathers around its edges, packing tightly against its sides, sealing gaps, reinforcing rather than weakening it. From the outside, it looks fragile, temporary, almost vulnerable. But appearances are misleading. The wind howls past the structure, slipping around its curved surface instead of tearing it apart. The snow piles up at its base, not as an enemy, but as insulation. The very elements that threaten life here are quietly repurposed into protection. And inside, something remarkable exists. A warm glow flickers softly, barely visible through the structure's entrance. It is not the roaring heat of a fire meant to dominate the cold, but a controlled, steady warmth, calm, efficient, intentional. The air inside is still, protected, breathable, a refuge shaped not by brute force, but by knowledge passed down across generations. This conical shelter is not an accident. It is the result of careful observation, deep respect for the land, and an understanding that survival in extreme environments requires cooperation with nature, not resistance against it. Indigenous engineers did not try to conquer the Arctic. They learned to listen to it. Every angle of the structure serves a purpose. The sloping walls prevent wind buildup. The height allows smoke to rise and escape without stealing warmth. The materials, hides, grasses, earth, snow, are chosen not for permanence, but for adaptability. When conditions change, the shelter can change too. Outside, the cold remains unforgiving. The winter sun hangs low, offering light without heat. The wind continues its endless journey across the plain, indifferent to human effort. Yet inside the structure, time slows. Hands warm, muscles relax. Life continues. This is the ultimate survival achievement. Not towering monuments or machines, but a quiet mastery of environment. A solution born from necessity, refined through experience, and preserved through memory rather than blueprints. In a world where the environment was a constant challenge to human existence, this shelter represents something profound: resilience without excess, innovation without waste, comfort without domination. Snow continues to swirl at the base of the structure, strengthening it with every gust. The wind cannot take what it cannot grasp. The cold cannot reach what has been thoughtfully protected. And the people inside do not fear the land, they understand it. As the winter light fades further, the glow within remains steady. A reminder that even in the harshest conditions, human ingenuity finds a way to create warmth, safety, and continuity, not by fighting the cold, but by learning from it. And so, on this frozen plain, beneath a pale sun and restless wind, the conical structure stands quietly, a testament to indigenous engineering, patience, and the timeless truth that survival often belongs to those who listen best. The land howls, the shelter holds, and life endures, calmly, wisely, and warm against the cold. Chapter 2. The Great Migration of Market Agony. Hey guys, welcome back to another cozy plunge into the quirks of history, where absurdity reigns supreme and all the comforts of modern life are nowhere to be found. Tonight, we'll take a gentle snooze through a lively scene filled with characters as resilient as a cat who just found a bath waiting for it. As the sun dips below the horizon, we're entering the bustling streets of the Great Plains in the 18th century. Imagine it, a symphony of sounds, aromas clashing like clumsy dancers at a wedding, and the unmistakable rhythm of survival drumming beneath your feet. Now, let's get real for a second. Have you ever considered just how many times you internally debate the merits of changing your clothes? You know, bedroom-styled, but then miss the toast in the kitchen because you've zoned out staring at your closet. Ever found yourself studying the living room like it might hold the secrets to ancient wisdom rather than simply gathering dust? Would you trade that moment of indecision for the sheer thrill of haggling over a sack of slightly overripe potatoes? Spoiler, you wouldn't. So, cozy up and grab your turkey leg, preferably not overripe. Because congratulations, you've just woken up in a world where frostbite is the least of your worries, and the market means you'd better be ready for a tug of war over the last loaf of bread. And here we go. As twilight descends, the sun paints the stone buildings in hues of amber and deep cobalt, throwing elongated shadows across the cobblestones. The market, Imagine a chaotic kaleidoscope of food carts, fabric stalls, and the unmistakable scent of something reminiscent of old boots begins to quiet down, giving way to a chorus of sighs and reshuffling feet. Picture it. Vendors wrangle their goods, folding tents and rearranging wares, all while packing up the remnants of a day in a marketplace that could rival your local supermarket on its busiest Sunday. But don't let the quiet fool you. This is the calm before the storm. You can almost hear the whispers of the night crawling over the stone walls as the people drift back to their cramped apartments, conjuring the warmest thoughts possible as they silently lament the turnip stew that's been simmering for days, competing only with the cat in an ongoing quest for the farthest corner to hide. The apartments themselves. Oh, what a charming take on modern minimalism. They are not the open-plan lofts or cozy nooks we so dutifully pursue today. No, these spaces are more akin to a rabbit warren on a budget, squished into tiny cubes where privacy is as scarce as a warm pair of socks on laundry day. Imagine dodging livestock en route to your bed. Moving furniture would require a full-on strategy, akin to a military operation. Move the armchair 10 feet to the left, then leap over the hay bale like a contestant in an Olympic decathlon. And while you strategize your escape from fleeting comfort, can you hear the laughter and camaraderie wafting through the air, alongside the lingering haze of boiled rutabaga? There's something undeniably delightful about a group of people gathered around a meager table with countless tales of the day. The riveting story of "that one time I almost went home without bartering" might become the highlight of your dinner chat, eclipsing even the culinary mysteries simmering away on the fire. Speaking of culinary wonders, let's take a moment to discuss the delicacies on the menu tonight. The finest in foraged culinary delight. Is that last week's potato? Or maybe a slightly courageous sprig of wild onions? The appetite built by a long day of market haggling is as merciless as a toddler in a candy store, combined with the fierce determination of a cat that has caught its prey. But watch out, because dinner conversations can swiftly turn to existential crises when faced with a microplate of, "What's for dinner?" Life here is like being in a sitcom, filled with wild characters, curious plots, and an audience of way too many parties ready to intervene. Imagine dodging your neighbor holding court on the topic of last week's market hairdryer horror, while simultaneously navigating accusations of, "You said you'd trade that cabbage." As tension mounts, the air hangs thick with laughter, absurdity, and just an edge of frustration, like trying to put on socks after getting out of the shower. Before long, the heavens beckon sleepy adventurers homeward, leaving behind an echo of laughter that melts into the night air. As you crisscross through the tight alleys, you can almost imagine the echo of hoverboards taking off at the convenience store around the corner. Except in this case, you've got a whole fleet of children running alongside you on foot, eager to ride the mesmerizing night breezes and maybe pilfer last-minute discounts on whatever remains on the market stall. As the sun finally sets completely, envision the cycle beginning anew. A refreshing reminder that life isn't just about surviving, it's the absurd, beautiful moments laced around our everyday struggles. Dreams, like cabbage wedges, may sometimes feel like a distant fantasy, but don't fret. They're waiting, just around the corner, as the evening air wafts inspirational tunes of laughter and life back to you. So, as you drift toward the gentle embrace of sleep, keep close this delightful chaos, reminding yourself that even in the ordinary struggles of life, humor finds a way to dig itself in like a stubborn clove in the kitchen drawer. Good night, adventurer, and here's to waking up with stories to tell. Chapter 3. The Teepee. More than just a glorified umbrella. Let's talk about warmth, specifically how one very clever group of people mastered the art of staying cozy without buying stock in a lumber yard. Picture this: a heavy stone castle with thick walls and tiny windows designed to keep out the world. Imagine the drafts taunting you as if they were rude party guests lingering in the corners. Now, contrast that with a graceful cone made of wood and hide, the ultimate winter fortress for those skilled indigenous engineers of the Great Plains. Ah yes, the teepee, an aerodynamic masterpiece with a surprising amount of engineering secrets concealed beneath its seemingly simple facade. The moment you step inside one of these marvels, it's like entering a cozy hug from nature itself. The interior smells like a whirlwind of campfires, fresh grass, and a hint of sage, with the warmth from the central fire pooling at your feet, wrapping around you like your favorite childhood blanket. Your body sinks into a comfortable spot on the ground, cushioned by the soft, worn hide of an animal that might have seen better days. It's better than any overpriced memory foam mattress, I assure you. But don't be fooled by the serenity. This is no ordinary tent. It's like the Swiss Army knife of structures. You can't just go around comparing teepees to regular tents, like saying a gourmet burger is the same as cold last week's pizza. Though, let's be honest, cold pizza rarely gets less charming as your caffeine levels plummet at 2 a.m. The first thing you notice is the elegance of its design. The conical shape is no accident, my friend. Just as you might regret putting on a pair of jeans after a hearty Thanksgiving dinner, the teepee's form ensures that snow slides right off its sides, no winter roof raking needed. But wait, why stop at function when you can have flair? The coverings of these marvels were often adorned with vibrant, detailed artwork. This wasn't just decorative, it was a way to tell stories, a decorative autobiography of the family residing inside. Your neighbor's cow prints could appear as drab as an office cubicle compared to the storytelling splendor of a well-crafted teepee. Imagine telling your friends, "Oh, your flat on the 3rd floor is nice, but have you seen the intricate wildlife ballet displayed on my dwelling?" Now, these portable pads of perfection are akin to your favorite food truck, a pop-up shelter that happens to be ready for a fiesta at a moment's notice. The quintessential feature was that the whole structure could be disassembled in record time. Just like you might toss out reckless plastic bags after a grocery run, the meticulously crafted poles and covers of a teepee allow you to pack up and hit the road in search of greater grazing land or the nearest Wi-Fi signal. Though, spoiler alert, no signal is coming in 1750. So, how were these natural works of art powered? Well, enter the central fire. Yes, heart of warmth and the bane of awkwardly burned marshmallows, providing heat, light, and the sweet scent of dying embers. When it came to heating your personal haven against the bleak winter chill, forget about fancy space heaters. This flickering flame performed a dazzling variety of functions. It cooked your food, kept you warm, and with a little luck and skill, turned meat into a remarkable delicacy instead of just eliminating it from future dinner conversations. Now, let's pause for a moment. Can you imagine hosting a dinner party within the confines of a cozy teepee? The fire crackles, the rich aroma of stewed bison wafts through the air. You lean back, admiring the decorations, the same way you'd admire that one friend's unreachable Pinterest board. It's like crafting Instagram stories from inside a delightful dome of rustic finesse. Oh, what's that? You don't have a killer view of the sunset? Wonder what that's like. The best part? In this perfect, portable paradise, you also develop an affinity for relationship building. Each teepee, lovingly assembled, isn't just a shelter, it's a community hub. People would gather, share stories, and inevitably complain about the incessant cold, culminating in a hilarious competition over who had the thicker sleeping furs. Just imagine the banter. "Oh, you thought your buffalo robe was impressive? You should see mine. It practically qualifies for a fashion week." Let's not forget practicality. Unlike castles that were often uninviting fortresses, teepees invited laughter, warmth, and even the occasional family squabble over the last morsel of drying jerky. You know the kind of squabble, a fun, light-hearted bickering that is just as essential as the air you breathe, or the jerky you're trying to fight over. And when some incorrigible rogue rolled in with a hilarious tale about battling a mountain lion just for grocery prep, you could trust your neighbors to cradle their laughs as they fought for the last bit of warmth from the fire. So there you have it. While heavy stone walls tried to fight the world, teepees simply flowed with it. They remained steadfast against the elements, performing a dance of survival with the wind and snow. Cozy, practical, and absolutely snarky in their own right, they show us that perhaps the best architecture isn't built to fortify, but to embrace, allowing stories to tumble in like leaves on a crisp autumn day. In this realm of wooden poles and warmly worn hides, humor was the ultimate draw. Who needs a solid brick wall when you've got a snazzy structure that's a conversation starter, an endurance test, and a snug retreat all in one? So, as whispers of cold air rustled through the tightly woven walls and laughter echoed, remember, when it comes to choosing whether to fight or to embrace the wind, sometimes a playful bend in the canvas is what keeps both your body and spirit warm on the harshest winter nights. All hail the ingenious design of the teepee, design of Chapter 4. Builders of the Cold. Indigenous engineering meets the Arctic. Welcome to the breathtaking frozen plains of the Great Plains. Imagine yourself bundled up like a burrito in 12 different layers, only to realize that winter just grabbed you by the cheeks and said, "Surprise!" Unlike that ex who's been ghosting you, this winter doesn't leave. Instead, it cozies up in your bones and refuses to budge. In this icy world, the indigenous builders were basically the world's chillest architects, pun intended. Their homes didn't just appear, oh no. They were crafted with the meticulous precision of a cat planning its pounce on an unsuspecting potato chip. As you wander through these snowy fields, fog curling upwards like a ghostly exclamation mark, you notice hidden magic in the air. These builders didn't aimlessly toss a few sticks together and call it a day. No, they spent generations honing their skills, developing an understanding of the land so profound it would have made even the most seasoned meteorologist sigh in envy. Just think about it. Ever tried to guess the weather while standing in line for overpriced coffee? That's child's play compared to having a 6-month-old baby snowstorm as your primary weather consultant. As the sun rises, painting the snow in hues of lavender and gold, you can feel the energy ripple through the vastness. The indigenous builders glide over the frost-kissed landscape, eyes twinkling like mischievous stars. They watch the wind whistling through the tall grasses and listen to the delicate whispers of snowflakes as they land gracefully on the untamed earth. Each gust and patch of snow tells a story, one that reveals where to set up their homes and when to huddle in for warmth. And here's the kicker. This isn't just about survival. It's an art form. Picture a world where every decision is informed by a textbook's worth of nature facts. You might ask yourself, where do I put my furniture? How about my thriving collection of snow globes? For these builders, that was a life and death question. They learned to read the land like it was the latest gossip rag, knowing when to lean into the chill like an old friend and when to retreat like a cat scared of the vacuum. You may want to lend them your ear as they observe the alignment of wind and snow patterns, nature's very own meteorological newsletter. Oh, the northerly winds are blowing today? Guess we won't be building a home with a porch view. They didn't have the luxury of shouty social media proclamations about local weather, but they did have instincts honed to a sharpness that could cut butter. So, how did they do it? Through generations of careful observation and an unyielding love for their landscape. Imagine the fascinating scene. Fellow builders congregate under the faded blush of dawn, huddled together in a gentle whirl of conversation, laughter, and well-intentioned popcorn kernel banter. Did you see where that snowdrift landed? Idiot thing probably thought it could hide out on the warm side of the plains. The landscape isn't just their home. It's a stage for pattern playing, like a giant game of Twister where the colors of the land dictate their moves. As they march over the frozen terrain, you swear you can hear their boots crunching the snow in the rhythm of a song, a tune only they can understand. Were their conversations about the best spots to place a lodge animated, all gestures and chuckles? You can bet your last snowflake they were. Oh, believe me, Frank, you do not want to put your lodge near the creek this season. Last winter was a total washout, and I don't mean the good kind. How inspiring it must have been to live in a world where your job wasn't just about survival, but about mastering the elements. You bet they snickered at the idea of people back home stressing over online meetings or while waiting for a Zoom call that's never going to start. Rain? Snow? Just nature being nature, folks. Now that's a call worth answering. In what can only be described as a glorious tactical game, these builders concocted a pulse of life and activity. They carefully selected their materials, gathering not just from what was available, but what the land dictated. A bendy tree here, a strong pole there. They went about their work with all the enthusiasm and precision of a kid glued to a Lego project. Each end of a stick, each patch of hide used for their teepees was carefully chosen, because let's face it, nobody wants to play interior designer in the Arctic. Now, let's get to the fun part. Imagine the sheer pride they must have felt as they surveyed the lands, their homes rising up against the backdrop of the vast winter landscape, the light from their fires flickering like a comedy show through the flaps of a well-placed teepee. Gosh, talk about ambience. So, while you might be here wondering why your toast keeps burning in your modern toaster, let yourself drift into the realm of those indigenous engineers who crafted homes with purpose, laughter, and perhaps even a pinch of playful banter. Could they cook breakfast on a fire? Absolutely, with a side of good-natured teasing to boot. Did anyone bring the elk jerky? And if you found yourself forgetting if you logged into work or started a movie at night, well, their dynamic lives were a roaring reminder of what it meant to connect with the world around them, one snowy day at a time. Yes, as the wind howled past the teepees, they embraced each blow like an old friend who tells bad jokes at dinner parties. Because when winter comes knocking, you can either grumble about it or laugh. And let me tell you, these builders knew how to do the latter. And so, as the laughter echoes and the warmth radiates, remember this: when it's cold outside and we're huddled under layers of flannel, some folks were using the Great Plains to design their cozy retreats with flair
and a cheeky attitude. Chapter 5: Log Cabins versus Teepees, a tale of two architectures.
Hey guys, welcome back to a cozy corner of history that's cozier than a cat in a sunbeam. Tonight, we dive into an architectural showdown that's as epic as choosing between sourdough and a gluten-free muffin. Only this time, it's not about carbs, it's about survival. Picture yourself surrounded by the most charming log cabin this side of the 18th century. Woodsy aromas wafting through the air like a sauna decorated by raccoons. But just across the way, there's a teepee, effortlessly warm and airy, like a quirky cousin who insists on using all the right essential oils while you're just trying to figure out how to use your toaster without burning your toast. Now, let's get real for a second. Have you ever designed a space only to realize you inadvertently turned it into a wind tunnel of doom, complete with a front row seat to the elements? What was the design flaw? Too many questionable IKEA shelves? Or did you miscalculate that cozy setup with furniture that seems to slowly migrate into the cold abyss of your living room? And let's not forget that one friend who always volunteers to relax by the window, while everyone else is bundled up in parkas, shaking their heads. So, buckle up, because you've just transported yourself to the enchanting world of the Great Plains between 1750 and 1850. A time when survival was more about your architectural choices than your Netflix queue. You awaken in a quaint colonial cabin, logging dreams swirling around you like a gentle, wispy fog, the kind that makes you want to wear plaid and build a fire. But hold on, it's also smoky and somewhat claustrophobic. as though the walls are conspiring to keep you locked in. "Hey," you might shout to the air, "can we get some ventilation up in here?" But the only reply you hear back is the sound of smoke curling up your nose and an unsettling feeling that winter is not just outside, it's having a full-blown house party inside your living space. Picture the logs stacked into a charming little square. Very rustic, very, I need a chimney sweep, but oh boy, do they forget about airflow. The heat? You'd think you were trapped in a superheated sauna run by an overexcited moose. The logs are leaking a heat that's basically a half-hearted sigh of warmth, making you feel like the world's least comfortable burrito. Yes, you have a roof, but guess what? It might as well be singing a duet with every draft that rolls through those cracks. But just a hop and a skip over yonder, there's the formidable design of the Indigenous teepee. It stands tall like the grand champion of efficient engineering, with its conical shape perfectly devised to funnel the winds right up and away, allowing warmth to nestle comfortably at the bottom. It's like that one friend who always picks the best restaurants, but for climate control. I mean, really, when did anyone ever consider a log cabin the ideal breathing organism? The walls of the teepee seem to be engaged in a loving dance of air with nature. I mean, if walls could win awards, the teepee would be up for Best Supporting Structure every time. And there's a reason. Its design is as much about airflow as it is about aesthetics. This is not your wood and nails project, folks. Oh no. This is a living, breathing structure that could make even modern architects reconsider their life choices. Now, let's slip into the sensory delights of these two distinctly charming abodes. Inside the cabin, the smell of smoldering wood intertwines with something not quite so pleasant. Was that last week's stew? Every moment spent here feels like playing a game of guess the source of the smell. It's straight-up old-school survival vibes with a touch of, please, no more beans. As for the teepee, my oh my. Step inside, and it's like a warm embrace from your grandma. If your grandma was an efficient air-flowing machine. The air dances freely inside, gently perfumed with sweet cedar and spices, wafting not from an unfortunate leftover, but a thriving hearth where a bubbling stew simmers away. You think to yourself, heck, I could take a nap in here. And thus, the two abodes become a metaphor for life. You can either lug yourself through the cold tendrils of your cramped log cabin, or bask in the open embrace of a well-ventilated teepee. As you navigate your way through these options, consider the absurdities of modern life. Ever tried navigating your living room through a pile of half-eaten snacks and random laundry? A bit like the way the indigenous builders deftly avoided the frigid air while nestled snugly in their warm hide dwellings. Meanwhile, how many times have you cursed under your breath as the weather app lied to you, and you stepped out into a frigid wind that felt like an angry slap on the cheek? Oh, sweet reader, here lies the irony. While we flounder around our homes trying to design cozy sanctuaries with faux wood paneling, the indigenous builders were crafting masterpieces with purpose, finding solutions for using natural materials, all while their designs served as cozy havens against the elements, snickering at that poor cabin with its heroic attempt at warmth. You can't make this up. So whether you're warming cold toes next to a fire pit or contemplating where the joys of your blanket fort went wrong, remember, it all comes down to one fundamental question. Are you seeking shelter or seeking a draft? And while you ponder that, let's embrace the teepee's wisdom and sigh. Because when it comes to choosing between warmth and whimsy, folks, you know you'll always choose to snuggle in. Chapter 6. Wind Warriors. The teepee triumphs over the tempest. Hey guys, welcome back to the wildest ride across the Great Plains. Tonight, we're about to experience a battle so fierce, it makes your aunt's Thanksgiving roast seem like a gentle simmer. Imagine the wind howling ferociously, like a pack of rabid wolves on karaoke night. It's got a mission to topple everything in its path, ravaging the landscape as if auditioning for a demolition job. But sitting stoically amidst this tempest is our champion, the marvelous teepee, curiously shaped like the hat your history teacher wore, yet radiating tranquility like a yoga instructor who's had way too much chamomile tea. So, before we plunge into this swirling cyclone of history, take a moment to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Or don't, but only if you truly enjoyed the ride. Now, as we steady ourselves amidst the absurdity of swirling wind 101, I want you to consider this. Have you ever walked into a particularly windy day and it felt like the universe itself slapped you sideways? Or perhaps wrestled with an umbrella that had a vendetta against your sanity? If so, brace yourself, because you are about to step back in time, where the warriors of wind were not only real, but also had impeccable taste in breathable structures. Congratulations, you've just woken up in the year 1800, nestled snugly in the heart of the Great Plains, surrounded by expansive vistas and the kind of wind that makes your hair stand up like you've just touched an electric fence on a dare. Now, here's a fact. You are not just in any old home. No, my friend, you're in an indigenous teepee, elegantly crafted by skilled builders who understood wind dynamics better than most modern engineers understand Twitter. Looking around, you notice something remarkably soothing about your new dwelling. The teepee stands resilient, gracefully angled, its smooth canvas wrapped tightly in place like a burrito prepared by a culinary genius. You take a deep breath and realize that while the outside world is a chaotic ballet of swirling dust and frigid air, inside your teepee, it's like a cozy treehouse where the wind can't get in on the action. It's more enchanting than a cat video on loop. Now, let's talk ventilation. Spoiler alert, your teepee is not just a pretty face. It's a stellar engineering marvel. Think of it as a well-oiled machine, pivoting gracefully around wind gusts like a professional dancer who's mastered the art of avoiding unsightly faceplants. You don't just have four walls here. You've got a carefully designed conduit for air that directs the tumultuous gusts straight up into the open sky, while keeping the warmth right where it needs to be, snugly low. You know what this feels like? Like sitting in a fancy cafe on a chilly day, your cappuccino in hand, while outside, people valiantly wrestle their scarves and trudge through snow like confused penguins. And let's not forget about the artistry involved. When you look closer at the walls, you can see meticulous designs woven into the fabric, almost as if the wind itself has pulled out its best rotary tool and said, "Let's add some flair." You might even think of inviting your 21st century friends to stay at your glam new abode, only to realize they'd complain about lack of Wi-Fi access, never mind the exquisite craftsmanship around them. "But where's my phone charger?" they'd ask, while happily cozying up by a real fire that doesn't require App Store approval. Now, picture the critters that inevitably find their way into this prairie paradise. Unlike the abandoned pumpkin spice lattes left on the ground in today's urban jungles, your teepee features an unexpected variety of elements. The crickets chirping in a chorus that sounds like a soothing symphony, and a gentle rustle of fabric as the wind plays peekaboo with your dwelling. They're charming compared to the moaning refrigerator and screeching neighbors you might be used to. And should a wayward buffalo wander too close? Well, nothing a solid, "Hey buddy, chill out," won't fix. At least, that's how you're feeling today. As the day wears on, you might even appreciate the way your home breathes with you. Unlike in the log cabins down the way, which resemble an overstuffed turkey carcass with about as much air circulation as a car trunk in July, your teepee provides the perfect earthy perfume. Sweet cedar mingling with a line of herbal sage, while the smell of the savory stew wafting from the hearth makes you wonder if you could capture it and bottle it for future Pinterest posts. What's a log cabin got on that, eh? And while you are nestled in your stylishly aerodynamic paradise, it's not all sunshine and butterflies. Suddenly, a fierce squall barrels through just to remind you who's boss: nature. Yet your trusty teepee stands firm, allowing the wind to dance around it like a tornado of confused sheep, while you relish in the cozy confines, snickering at its oddity. Sure, you might hear it groan a little, but it's less about, "Help, I'm going to blow away," and more like grumpy complaints from an uncle who just got told to moderate his potato intake. As the wind shrieks and howls like an angry arena of banshees, you just lean back comfortably on your furs and think, "I could get used to this." It's like living in a cozy fort, only instead of pillows and a dream catcher, you've got natural materials and a working knowledge of wind direction that solves the ultimate quest: warmth versus ferocity. So, as you ponder these wonders of historical engineering, and perhaps the secret life of your home as a wind whisperer, just remember, my sleepy friend, while some have faced winter storms armed only with questionable construction, you are nestled in the graces of a design that hugs the heart and fuels the imagination like a warm cup of cocoa. And it's all thanks to ancient ingenuity proving its majesty even against the most ferocious gusts. And as the wind continues its cacophonic serenade outside, the real question lingers. Will the buffalo stay at bay? Or are you about to host a turf battle of epic proportions? Buckle up, because this architectural adventure is anything but over. Chapter 7. Hauling Home, a portable squall of cozy insanity. Hey guys, welcome back to the home improvement show that's about as straightforward as teaching a cat to fetch. Tonight we're putting the "You've Gotta Be Kidding Me" back in DIY as we dive deep into the ins and outs of indigenous engineering on the Great Plains. Picture this: a madcap circus of long poles, animal skins, and more confusingly structured homes than a toddler's block set after a major earthquake. Grab your marshmallows because we're going to roast some serious architectural misperceptions. Now, before we become experts on moving house with a travois, take a moment to like, subscribe, and maybe comment below, though only if you find yourself laughing harder than a hyena at a stand-up comedy night. And while you're at it, dim the lights, tune in that fan to give you a slight breeze from the north, and get comfortable, because we're about to jump into a scene that will make moving day at your friend's house seem like a leisurely Sunday stroll. Have you ever packed for a vacation and realized you'd brought your entire closet, plus items you swore you'd never wear? Imagine if each item was crucial for survival, instead of just unflattering swimwear. What if you had to not only move your home, but ensure it survived everything from sudden blizzards to curious buffalo? Ever try explaining that to a toddler who is already convinced that packing means finding every toy they've ever owned? Well, buckle up, dear listener, because here on the Great Plains, circa 1825, you've just woken up in a world where every day is an exercise in survival and absurdity on a grand scale. Around you, the sun peeks over the horizon, stretching its arms and yawning like it's had one too many cups of coffee. It's time for a migration, and no, I'm not talking about that awful decision you made to visit your in-laws during the holidays. You find yourself surrounded by a group of skilled indigenous builders, deftly taking apart their home, a trusty teepee designed to withstand the whims of both nature and badly aimed playing darts. They wield long wooden poles like a marching band without a drum major, delicately balancing tradition with survival instincts sharp enough to slice through a brisk morning breeze. Each pole emerges gracefully from the structure, like an elegant cactus undergoing a complicated yoga routine. You see them carefully laying the poles down on a travois, a contraption that looks like the floor of your closet during a spring cleaning project, only instead of old sneakers and dust bunnies, it's a means of transporting their entire home. You might wonder, how did they even get this home here in the first place? Certainly not with IKEA instructions, I assure you. Imagine your living room being suddenly disassembled before your very eyes, and yet every pole, every piece of fabric seems to have its own personality, like a sitcom cast whose contracts are up for renewal. These builders aren't just disassembling a house, they're performing a delicate ballet where each turn of phrase is a whispered secret of the land itself. You might start to think, why can't I relocate my Amazon Prime deliveries like this? Ah, the limitations of modern technology. And let's not forget the insulation. The fabric of the teepee isn't just some glorified bedspread. It's an engineering marvel meant to keep out Arctic winds, yet is remarkably breathable, almost as if nature had colluded with the builders and said, "Hey, let's make this cozy enough so they forget how frigid it gets outside." It's the kind of insulation that would have any modern architect turning green with envy, all without a single piece of bubble wrap or $1 million consulting fee. As one builder expertly ties the poles together, you can imagine them thinking, "I hope the buffalo are taking notes, because they'll be living in a modern-day igloo before they know it." You catch snippets of conversations, murmured encouragements, mischievous banter, and the occasional dramatic flair akin to, "You won't believe what happened at last night's dance." You half expect someone to break into song about their making enthusiastic choices for moving day. The air is filled with earthy scents, dried sage, the faint aroma of leather, and a hint of cedar that reminds you of those fancy wood-scented candles your friend insisted would change your life. Trust me, my cozy companion, nothing will ever compare to living within a structure that smells like Mother Earth herself decided to throw a perfume party. As your collective troop of travelers begins the trek across the hills, each pole and mat flaps like a rowdy flag in a parade, serving as an emblem of their nomadic spirit, both grounded and spirited. Imagine a contemporary yoga class, but with a lot more dirt and a touch of excitement akin to racing against time for the bus. Questions hurl through your mind. What if someone ties my ankles together literally while running? Am I about to discover my inner superhero, or just sprain something? But there's no time for existential dread. It's all hands on deck. Navigating the uneven terrain, it's clear that the entire process of moving a home is essentially an extreme sport, the likes of which your weekend warrior friends would sip protein shakes and envy. The skill it takes to balance everything, to ensure warmth and functionality, all while chuckling at an occasional wayward tumble. It's true genius at play. Not to mention a little luck to avoid tripping over the buffalo who wandered a bit too close to the action. So, as the sun arcs through the vast sky, your eyes can't help but smile at this dazzling choreography. Not only are they transporting their home, they are embodying resilience and an intimate relationship with the land that rivals the best romances. One thing's for sure. If they can reconstruct their home in the time it takes for you to lose your phone and your couch cushions, then you, my dear, might just want to upgrade your packing game next time you go camping. And as they reach a gentle hilltop, consider how this whimsical yet practical parade isn't simply about moving a structure. It's about a life rhythm interwoven with nature, community, and the playful chaos of existence itself. Because in reality, who needs a spacious backyard when a flamboyant collection of poles becomes your portable castle? Now that's what I call blue sky thinking. Chapter 8. The Lodgepole Lifestyle, a timbered troop of tenacity. Hey guys, welcome back to the wild and wacky world of historical architecture. Tonight we're about to delve into something more solid than your ex's last excuse for breaking up. The sturdy lodgepole pine and its role in shaping homes during the Great Plains era. Yes, you heard me right. The kind of engineering that makes IKEA look like it's running a kid's craft booth at a summer fair. So, dim those lights, grab your favorite blanket, and let's prepare to tuck ourselves into the cozy world of indigenous ingenuity. As you settle into your comfy spot, preferably without splinters, let me ask you a few ridiculous questions. Ever wondered how a tall, skinny tree becomes the backbone of a portable home? Or pondered if your modern-day couch could survive in a blizzard, let alone be packed up and moved across the hills without your mother-in-law noticing? Imagine explaining to your friends that you recently participated in a fast-paced game of how fast can we disassemble our living room? Wouldn't that elevate your next dinner party storytelling? Congratulations, you've just woken up in the year 1825, surrounded by a dazzling display of industriously twisted pole structures and the sweet scent of pine mingling with the earthy aroma of sage. Yes, you're in a patch of Great Plains paradise, where lodgepole pines stand sentinel around you like nature's enthusiastic cheer squad. These trees are the supermodels of the woodland, tall, sturdy, and totally ready to become your new best friends. Sorry, old friends, it's time to upgrade. Visualize the sun filtering through the lodgepole pines, casting slanted beams that bounce off the ground like errant beams of light at a disco party. These trees stretch high, perfectly designed to combat the wild winds of the plains. Their trunks are the kind of strong that makes you wonder how many gym memberships it took to get that kind of muscle mass. They aren't just tall, they're also flexible, doing an impressive impression of a contortionist during a windstorm. Now let's hop into the mind of a Great Plains builder, because honestly, they've outsmarted jeans-clad hipsters with their eco-friendly designs. First, they need to topple a few lodgepoles while exchanging gossip about last night's exciting buffalo stampede. You didn't hear it from me, but someone definitely mistook a bison for a cow in the dark. In between snorts of laughter, they're using some fantastically precise techniques that no one would dare guess involved engineering equal to that of NASA, except way more flannel and no high fives from interns. Once the perfect poles are selected, they channel their inner lumberjacks with the precision of skilled artisans, deftly stripping the bark off without a hint of a splinter. That's right, folks, no bloody fingers here. As your builders work, the air fills with the satisfying crunch of bark being peeled away and the delightful scent of fresh pine wood. It's woody wisdom you can practically feel in your bones, like reading a self-help book that actually works. This wood isn't just sturdy, it's practically a cozy sentinel ready to take on a winter storm. But hang tight, because things are about to get even more immersive. Picture a group of builders placing their carefully selected poles upright in a circular formation, a form of DIY housing reminiscent of a merry-go-round built by a team of over-caffeinated squirrels. They tie these poles together with leather strips, laughing and cracking jokes about how Dorothy didn't need to find her way home, she just needed a good locksmith for that tornado-riddled house of hers. Around you, the smell of cedar fills the air like a woodsy cologne intended to lure seals, while all you can think is that the fragrant notes of nature managed to take a victory lap after the last bee-go-round went out of style. The builder's laughter dances in the air, accompanied by the rustling of animal hides that once kept their homes warm, reminding you of how a well-placed duvet can transform your TV watching experience into something tragically cozy. As the sun begins to dip lower, your crew pulls out the lighter-toned decorative skins, a barricade against the swiftly falling temperatures. Imagine the skills involved in treating animal hides. There's no YouTube tutorial for this kind of crafts project. You chuckle to yourself, thinking that perhaps this could be a hit reality show. Extreme skin treatment. Watch as we turn deer into decor. Though, I assure you, the rewards come with quite the learning curve. With your new home taking shape, you marvel at how these energetic builders not only made a shell to withstand the wickedest of wintry blasts, but also crafted a cozy nook where warmth and community thrive. It's more than just a house. It's a gallery of flavors, aromas, and affectionate stories embedded into every pole and skin, a living testament to their resilience and creativity. If modern architecture taught us anything, it would be less is more. Unless you have a pressing obligation to over-explain how a home made of bark and flexibility can weather nearly anything nature throws with a whimsical shrug. So, as the final touches of the lodgepole frame soak up the remaining daylight, consider how the builders smile at the layered skin and the great stories crafted within. This isn't just the act of building a home, it's weaving a tapestry of life itself. Who needs a sprawling mansion when you can transform the beauty of nature into a snug and safe haven? Next time you're frustrated about picking up after your pets, just remember, lodgepole homes were a personal fortress built with as much heart as ingenuity, and the company of friends shared over blazing fires and laughter is the kind of warmth you can't buy at IKEA. no matter how many assembly manuals you collect.
Chapter 9. Stripping down to the essentials, poles and puzzles. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode where we trade in your pillows for pine and your boring urban woes for the wonderfully wild world of indigenous engineering. Tonight, things are about to get smoother than the butter you can't quite get off the pan in your kitchen. We're peeling back the layers on how the Great Plains folk crafted their homes from the trees around them. Spoiler alert, no assembly required, and definitely no trips to a crowded hardware store. Now, picture this. You're nestled in your favorite recliner, fluffed pillows in a defensive position against the world, but deep down, you're wondering, have you ever thought about how difficult it must be to strip bark from a tree without it feeling like a first date awkwardness? Or perhaps you ponder if anyone ever used pine-scented air freshener as a method for luring critters out while they stripped their trees. Because nothing embodies yesterday's lumberjack more than a fresh, pine-scented life, right? Let's embrace a little absurdity, shall we? Imagine having to explain to your high-maintenance friends that your latest weekend trip involved a mad dash to find the best timber while dodging sharp critters. Because who doesn't love a side of scratches and scrapes with their DIY adventures, am I right? Oh, and how did you acquire such a natural aesthetic? Easy, just strip a few trees and call it a day. Congratulations, you've just awakened in 1825, surrounded by energetic builders, each busy leveling up their homes while expertly shimmying between trees like a super disciplined game of Twister, minus the loud family arguments and the half-eaten pizza. The fresh scent of pine lingers in the air as industrious hands strip the bark from lodgepole pines. It quickly dawns on you that this is serious business. Builders here are honing a unique mixture of craftsmanship and artistry, engaging in a ritual that feels as sacred as your morning caffeine fix. Let's talk about this brilliant strategy, shall we? It begins with selecting a pole, the process akin to shopping for the perfect avocado. You cannot pick just any one. No, they're looking for that smooth, strong wood that can endure the harshest winters. This is no casual stroll to the store. It's more like a gymnastics routine. Precision and flexibility are paramount. Each selection feels mathematical, as though builders have become the human embodiment of a lumber-based SAT prep course, ensuring only the best materials forge the foundation of their family homes. As they work, the sound of the bark ripping away is oddly satisfying, like the first crunch of a perfectly toasted marshmallow, or the incredible joy of opening a new bag of chips. Imagine the builders giggling, "I really hope this pole is a keeper." It's almost like they're auditioning trees for a leading role in Cozy and Resilient, the Home Saga. With each vertical Pole, the builders slip into a pattern that feels almost like dance choreography. If you've ever seen a synchronized swimming team on dry land, you're halfway there. They lean against one another, move in harmony, and shout encouragement, rallying their fellow wood-loving comrades. Between the bark and giggles, you can almost hear a contemporary soundtrack. "I Will Survive" crooning in the background while they bond over their shared task of erecting a stubborn shelter against Mother Nature's tantrums. But hold that thought. It's about to get delightfully outrageous. Each stripped pole isn't just a hunk of wood. It's actually a token at an imaginary casino of history, filled with stakes higher than your neighbor's lawn decor ambitions. You know how we have online reviews today? Imagine having a critical jury of locals rating the sturdiness of your choice of lodgepole with a slathering of funny anecdotes. "Well, this one held up during the Great Storm of '26, but I hear it doesn't handle angry raccoons well." The laughter continues, the camaraderie develops, and before long, you start to realize that these poles are a tapestry of sorts, weaving together generations, memories, and stories of resilience, cozy family gatherings, and even perhaps that one time Grandpa accidentally burned the Thanksgiving turkey during the blizzard of '33. And then there's the moment to tie them all together. Builders expertly wrap leather strips around the poles, anchoring their beloved resources in place. Each twist and turn is imbued with purpose, more meaningful than your latest Instagram post about finding balance while precariously handling that pyramid of groceries. They're creating something beautiful out of what nature provides, and you feel the warmth of their joy wafting around you. As the sun dips lower on this hallowed homestead, the poles swaying slightly in the brisk breeze, as if they're whispering secrets to one another, you feel a sense of connection to the past, the present, and even a splash of the absurd. This isn't just a construction project. This is the foundation of life itself, a gathering space for laughter, stories, and the occasional heated debate over who really caught the biggest fish in the Missouri River last summer. So, as we close this chapter of laced anticipation and rustic adventures, you remind yourself of the timeless lesson. From stripping bark to stacking logs, all it takes is a little humor and a lot of heart to build something extraordinary. Much like the builders would say, crafting a home doesn't just involve materials. It's really about fostering the unshakable bonds that go beyond simple shelter. And that, my friends, brings us to cozy, dream-filled nights under a starry Great Plains sky, accompanied, of course, by the delightful aroma of pine and well-timed laughter reverberating through your new abode. Now, before you drift off into peaceful slumber, perhaps, adopt a new motto. When life gives you lodge poles, turn them into your next great adventure. Because if history has taught us anything, it's that a little laughter, resilience, and the right kind of wood can build the coziest of homes. Sweet dreams await. Sweet dreams. Chapter 10. The Triumphant Tripod. Sturdy Foundations for Chilly Undertakings. Hey guys, welcome back. Get cozy because tonight we're diving into something as stable as your cousin Larry trying to juggle 4 beers at once. The engineering marvel of the Great Plains, brought to you by the creative ingenuity of indigenous peoples. Spoiler alert, we're talking about pole tripods that could stand against winds that would make even the sturdiest man reconsider his life choices. Imagine this as we take a moment. Picture your worst winter experience. Maybe your car wouldn't start, or you slipped spectacularly on a patch of ice, leg flailing like a baby giraffe. Now, amplify that cold tenfold. Toss in a few roaring winds, and you've got yourself a room full of indigenous engineers in the pre-reservation era, busy creating robust structures to keep out the frigid bite of the Great Plains winter. Trust me, their designs are more reliable than your latest online dating choice. But before we drop you back into the 1800s, let's ponder some important questions. Have you ever wondered how surviving a winter in a cozy lodge might feel? Or, more pressing, how would you perform handyman duties without a retail store to ransack? I mean, really, DIY on a whole new level. And let's not forget, why do we even give our houses names? Was anyone in 1825 flipping through a possible title list for their lodges? Frosty Acres has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Congratulations. You've just woken up in 1825, surrounded by hardy souls ready to construct what can only be described as the McMansion of the grasslands. The folks here aren't wilting under the thought of deconstructing an IKEA assembly manual. No, sir. They form a team so tight-knit they could host an Olympic knitting competition. It's like witnessing a live creation of a masterful art installation, only with slightly less pretentiousness and a lot more hooting about how many knots a single pole can endure. So, here's the scenario. 3 hefty poles, back to back, tied together like a dramatic family reunion, only without Aunt Edna insisting on bringing her potato salad. These poles stretch out like that brave friend who always volunteers to try everything on the menu, desperately holding it all together at the top, while flaring wide at the bottom like a host of a reality show episode gathering its contestants. The structure is so stable that you can almost picture it scoffing at stubborn gusts of wind. It laughs in the face of nature's perplexing tantrums and whispers, "Oh really? Try me." Take a moment to relish that image. Sturdy poles that could withstand strong enough gusts to topple a fully grown buffalo. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about a tripod with the confidence of a barista who makes the perfect latte. If winds tried to mess with this setup, it would be nothing short of a classic, hold my drink while I show you how it's done moment. As you stand, here, enveloped in the sweet smell of pine mixed with the earthiness of the plains, whispers of excitement float through the air. Builders shimmy past like contestants in their own peculiar version of a dance-off against the elements. They lather those tripods in leather strips, wrapping them tight like an over-enthusiastic parent trying to keep their toddlers secure in a shopping cart. This is serious business. Each pole is not merely a piece of wood, it's a promise of stability, coziness, and a roof over heads that might otherwise be subject to merciless cold. But let's take a breather and appreciate the absurdity. In the modern age, you'd simply swipe right for a sturdy home on an app. Here, these ingenious folks choose stronger materials, wrestling with physics and natural resources like overzealous gym-goers pumping iron for a summer bod. Each tying of a leather strip resonates deeply, echoing through generations. If only those strips could talk. They would regale tales of toddlers, family squabbles about who gets the best corner, and heartwarming moments like grandma getting her foot stuck in a lodge pole while looking for her favorite shawl. As the sun dips ever lower, casting awkward shadows that may or may not resemble dancing spirits, you find yourself lulled by the weight of their camaraderie. Not only are they building homes, they are crafting legacies wrapped in laughter and resilience. That tripod? It's not just a shelter, it's a party. A place where stories are shared, laughter bounces from wall to wall, and someone always burns the bread, as if it were an expected rite of passage. And here comes the kicker. These poles, lovingly assembled, aren't simply for thwarting winter chills. They represent an unbuilt legacy of ingenuity, humor intertwined with hardship, and memories woven together like a quilt fiery enough to keep you warm on the coldest nights. So next time you prepare to huddle under blankets, take a moment to solemnly thank these architects of warmth, whose artful layering of leather and wood surrounds you with a snug embrace. So, as we wrap up this chapter of chilled chuckles and architectural absurdities, remember that even in the harsh Great Plains, laughter intermingled with hard work turns a chilly night into a cozy celebration. Because if history teaches us anything, it's that while winters can be tough, a good community, a few poles, and a sprinkle of ingenuity can always make for a delightful evening. Sweet dreams of warmth await, my friends. Chapter 11. Spirals of steel and snow, cagey structures rising in the cold. Hey guys, welcome back. Tonight, buckle up your thermal belts because we're taking an exhilarating ride through something cooler than an ice cube's hangout. Armchair engineering straight from the Great Plains of the 1800s. Get ready to dive deep into the world of building designs that are more resilient than your high school self during exam season. Now, settle in as we prepare to address some burning questions. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to build a house that could withstand wind gusts strong enough to send even a tumbleweed sprinting for cover? Or perhaps considered how you would manage to shovel snow if your only tools were a wooden stick and your bare fists? And seriously, have you thought about how people named their homes back then? Would frigid fortress go over well? Or is that too on the nose? Congratulations! You've just woken up in 1825, surrounded by a bustling community forging their shelter against the wrath of winter's chill. Right away you notice something intriguing. A cluster of ingenious individuals armed with poles, ropes, and a level of enthusiasm that would make a barista caffeine high seem tranquil. They are following a method so sophisticated that modern architects might as well take notes. If they didn't have their FaceTime meetings distracting them, that is. Picture this scene. A group of builders, more diverse than the cast of a sitcom, are adding vertical poles in a precise spiral formation. It's almost as if they're trying to create the world's largest spiral staircase, but in reverse. These poles spring vibrantly skyward, interlocking like the fingers of a very motivated giant trying to reach for the cookie jar. Now, as you gaze up, you might wonder, why spiral? Ah, dear dreamer, this brilliant arrangement allows the structure to disperse weight evenly, like a pizza chef spinning dough in the air with flair, only with fewer flour-covered floors.
And let's be real, probably fewer flying toppings too. As you approach the construction site, you can almost hear the poles whispering sweet nothings to each other. "Don't worry, I got your back." Meanwhile, these folks are weaving leather strips like confident seamstresses at a fabric fair, crisscrossing each pole until the whole structure resembles a magical cage designed not to bewilder a rabbit, but to resist the fierce gusts and heavy snow that so generously blanket the plains each winter. Imagine the powerful winds that howl through this flat expanse, wild and determined, but they meet their match in this ingenious design. These structures laugh in the face of winter's tantrums, like a middle-aged man who just found his latest age hairline has developed a friendly relationship with the wind. It's not just functional. It's practically a marvel that would leave modern engineers in awe, like children staring at how a Rubik's
Cube magically turns into a 3D puzzle. Now, let's put this in perspective. Have you ever stood under a roof that's developed a mind of its own, threatening to cave in under a mountain of snow? Well, these builders happily avoid that kind of catastrophe by ensuring that heavy flurries have no chance of piling up. If you've ever neglected to sweep your porch and found leaves replacing the woodwork, consider these builders as the wiser, snow-fighting cousins who keep both their roof and their lives organized, thankfully without in-law visits. In the sweet scent of drying leather and the sharp snap of wood, builders are recalling old tales as they work. Stories woven into the fabric of their lives fuel their laughter amidst the chaos. You start to ponder, in a world where product reviews would take centuries to reach the masses, how did these folks ensure they were selecting top-tier poles? 5 stars for sturdiness and wind resistance would build again. As the daylight wanes and shadows stretch long like sleepwalking cats, these cozy constructions rise, not just as homes, but as monuments to resilience. Each pole, threaded and tied, serves more purpose than just holding roofs. They encapsulate generations of know-how and laughter. Because what's the use of a sturdy home if it doesn't have a few giggles echoing within its walls? With the blanket of night finally settling over the Great Plains, you can't help but smile at the thought. In this world of swirling snow and stiff winds, amid the determination and toil, a warm community is at work. Each trip to the fire for more wood probably resembles a weirdly coordinated scavenger hunt, with people tripping over each other like puppies, their laughter mingling with crackling embers. So, as we wrap up this frosty chapter of spirals, poles, and endless ingenuity, remember, while the cold gnaws at your bones, warmth grows not just from fires, but from laughter that keeps those winter blues at bay. And if ever you find yourself feeling chilly, picture these remarkable structures, their resilience soaring higher than your neighborhood egos during game night. Sweet dreams of spiraled strength await you, dear listeners, await you. Chapter 12. Poles, Laughter, and the Great Plains Odyssey. Hey guys, tonight we're wading into something groovier than a hipster's coffee shop on a Saturday. Our cozy Polaroid over the Great Plains, circa 1825. We're about to embark on a journey filled with plucky pioneers armed with seasoned wooden poles. And let me tell you, they're not just walking sticks. They're more like family heirlooms with all the sentimental value of your great-uncle Bob's old recliner, only with less questionable upholstery. So, grab your thermal blankets, because we're diving into a life more adaptable than your cousin who changes careers every 6 months. Can you imagine waking up in a world where every pole you carried told a story that spanned generations, and every movement was like a strategic game of chess with the seasons? Or how about trying to convince your children to carry around the family's most valuable wooden pole, while simultaneously wondering if it would serve as both a walking aid and an impromptu poke-your-sibling tool? Congratulations, you've just woken up on the Great Plains, surrounded by a sprawling tapestry of grasslands that stretches out like the world's largest green bedspread, fringed with the chaotic brilliance of wildflowers and feisty prairie dogs. These vast hunting grounds are alive with activity, as eager families are seen shuffling about, poles in hand, weaving their way through the tall grasses like some sort of organic piñata parade. Now, picture this: the sun peeking over the horizon, casting a soft glow on this industrious family. As you take a moment to inhale the scent of earth and wood, imagine it like the smell of Grandma's kitchen, only with a little more fresh-cut lumber and a sprinkle of sweat. That's the aroma of hard work, my friends, one that rivals the most fervent of Sunday roasts. As they traverse the land, your heart flutters with nostalgia, even though none of the history you see is yours. Each pole, a sturdy companion of seasoned wood, has journeyed hundreds of miles like a loyal dog, but with way less barking. These poles are more than materials. They're encoded with the essence of life, a narrative that includes frost-bitten fingers, windy afternoons, and dubious decisions involving too much dried meat from last summer. Imagine strapping one of these babies to your back, muscling through the high grasses, and getting a workout so intense that it gives modern-day CrossFit a run for its money. You couldn't just pop down to the local gym for a quick session. Your workout was tied directly to your survival, the kind where tripping over your younger sibling could result in both a dead leg and a dinner pass. With each step, you hear the soft crunch of earth underfoot, like Mother Nature's version of a bubble-wrap runway, the kind your inner child cannot resist. Geez, why do we even need fancy shoes if I'm just going to do gymnastics on dirt? You wonder, chuckling to yourself as you stumble elegantly past a sleeping buffalo resembling a furry speed bump. Surrounded by the whirling winds of change, this family is a dynamic ensemble cast. Mom's got this pole that belonged to her own mother, a relic of a time when choosing poles was akin to picking a favorite child. Dad's strutting with his recent acquisition, valiantly attempting to make it look like he knows what he's doing. Meanwhile, the kids are bickering about whose turn it is to carry the family's prized piece of timber, which is firmly believed to hold the secret to catching the biggest game. What do you reckon it actually contains? Old snack wrappers from last winter's hunting trips? As they venture further into the icy expanse, you notice the poles bracing against the chilly wind, resembling warriors brandishing shields in a less than glamorous battle. Each pole stands firm, like a loyal old friend who shows up to the party, even when it's been announced that only the mobile, youthful crowd would be attending. You glance at the kids, their laughter echoing across the plains like the sound of distant banjos in a southern barbecue. And it's clear, adventure is afoot. Let's talk about dinner. The sun begins to set, casting a warm haze that invites everyone to gather around a fire pit to share tales. And, more importantly, a pot of bean stew that seems to have enough flavor to be worthy of Michelin stars. Just imagine that moment. No fancy cutlery or fancy plates. Everyone's sharing from the same pot, like they're recycling a lifetime of family gossip. Well, Uncle Larry did try to roast a squirrel once, but I swear it tasted more like shoe than chicken. From where you sit, you've got your ear to the ground, listening closely, snickering as stories of hunting mishaps unfurl. You wonder, is there a family in 1825 that hasn't almost fired up a dispute over the best way to wipe out an intruding raccoon? Who knew, serving as a survivalist also came with an impromptu stand-up routine. One minute you're battling nature, the next, you're battling your siblings for the last of the stew, like it's the last donut at the office. But as darkness embraces the plains, there's warmth that rises in the midst of the cold. Bonds are strengthened, laughter shared, and stories exchanged, creating fabric that clings tighter than winter layers. And while they may be surrounded by the vast wilderness, they're never alone. Each pole and story tying them together in a cozy bundle of heritage and tenacity. So as we leave behind this chapter of wooden poles and hearty laughter, remember this: the journey through life, like a family dinner, is all about finding what brings you together, whether it's the comfort of stories or those charmingly awkward moments when someone accidentally tips over the stew pot. Sleep tight, dear listeners, and don't forget to dream of frosty adventures feisty raccoons, and a world where every pole is a family member, just waiting to carry on the legacy. Chapter 13. A Blizzard of Engineering Marvels. Hey guys, tonight we're venturing into a snowy wilderness that's colder than a finance meeting in January. Imagine you just signed up for a winter retreat, and by winter retreat, I mean getting blasted by snowflakes the size of frisbees while your house plays the role of a frosty fortress. Yep, we're diving deep into the astonishing world of indigenous engineering right in the heart of the Great Plains, set between 1750 and 1850, where the great outdoors suddenly decided to hand out blizzards like it was Oprah. But before we cozy up into this snowy tale, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the hilarity of long-forgotten survival strategies, but only if you actually enjoy it. No pressure. And maybe even subscribe for more whimsical journeys through history, because who doesn't want to start their day learning how to dodge snowflakes while laughing uncontrollably? Now, let's set the scene for our evening. Have you ever been stuck with a roommate who insists on setting the thermostat to Arctic? Or experienced one of those unexpected power outages where you're sure you're about to turn into a human popsicle? Just imagine coats layered like an onion, only those weren't puffy winter jackets, but the practical layers of the past, designed to keep you one step away from frostbite. And what about trying to convince your kids that wearing 8 layers is cool, while they're busy weighing which TikTok dance to do next? Congratulations, you've just woken up in 1825, living your best life in a cozy, conical abode just as a massive winter storm rolls in with a vengeance. Picture it, as the flakes tumble down like confetti at a New Year's bash gone awry. Your home stands resolutely against the chaos outside. The cone shape of your shelter is ingeniously designed, like an airplane wing, gracefully allowing the wind to pass by without turning it into a summer barbecue pit. I mean, who knew geometry could save your behind from freezing to death? As the storm howls, the world outside transforms into a swirling, chaotic mess, a veritable snow globe where the contents are determined by a toddler on a sugar rush. But inside? It's like a serene, zen garden, quiet and untouched. Snowdrifts pile up outside like family members at a holiday dinner, while you find yourself wrapped in layers of wool, perhaps a bit scratchy, but definitely warm enough to rival a sauna. Amidst the cacophony of the storm, you can hear the comforting hum of the wind, which oscillates between a menacing whistle and a gentle lullaby. Is that the respectful song of the wind, or just the howl of some wayward raccoon, you wonder, half asleep already? Let's take a moment to appreciate the craftsmanship of these shelters. Built from the most robust materials around, think sturdy wooden beams and a roof made of hides, each home was strategically designed to endure even the wildest storms. A traditional fireplace crackles in the corner, sending tendrils of warmth that wrap around you like a loving hug from Grandma, who definitely fed you one too many cookies before bed, but you secretly loved it. Now, let's talk about the snow. Pretty to look at, but mixed with that biting cold, it feels like tiny ice cubes are taking turns spiking your shins. Every dull thud of snow hitting your roof is a reminder that at any moment, you could become a snowman or a forgotten popsicle, neither of which sounds appealing. But as you peek outside, you can't help but admire the beauty. Each flake is unique, swirling in the air like a ballet of frosty ballerinas performing a highly coordinated routine. Likely unaware, they'll all be gathering in awkward clumps by morning. Oh, and that cozy pocket of stillness you have created? It's not just a clever design, it's a masterclass in momology. With each gust outside, the frantic snowstorm reminds you of that chaotic family dinner where everyone talks over each other, tossing in random opinions and advice as if they have PhDs in chaotic weather. But here, inside, you're snug as a bug in an oversized rug, listening to the howl of the storm like it's nature's version of elevator music, eerily soothing, yet mildly panicking you at the same time. Not only does your lodge keep you warm, but it also acts as a fulcrum of laughter and creativity during long nights spent indoors. I mean, why hold a board game night when you can start a snow melting contest? Just imagine the kids lining up outside the doorway, each equipped with a homemade snowball, grinning like mischievous elves plotting world domination through snow warfare. Who would have thought future engineers would train their core strength by squatting to make snowballs? You muse, chuckling to yourself while mentally prepping for the inevitable laundry disaster when they return. As the howling wind echoes around you, you find yourself momentarily transfixed by the beauty and ferocity of nature outside. It's a world in upheaval, showcasing the grandeur of winter at its most daunting. This flurry of white chaos outside, a stark reminder of what you're up against, creates an urgency to appreciate each woolen layer you sport, as if it were the finest piece of haute couture. But therein lies the humor of it all. Wrapped in layers, cozy as a burrito, while the world outside plays an ice-cold game of dodgeball. Life, my friends, is a balancing act between coziness and the cringe-worthy cold out there. And who knew an ingenious cone-shaped shelter could turn the icy tempest into mere background music as you snooze away in warmth? So, let's take a moment to sip our imaginary hot cocoa, slather on some self-made marshmallows, and embrace the hilarity of the human experience. Your cozy abode may be built against nature's fury, but rest assured, adventure is simmering. Whether that be in the form of family disputes over who's
Hogging the warmest blanket, or the impromptu competition to see who can build the tallest snowman outside come morning. As the storm continues to rage, you drift off, surrounded by laughter within and snowdrifts without, embarking on a night where cozy dreams meet the whimsy of survival. Sweet dreams, witty warriors of the winter. Chapter 14. Engineering a Snowy Haven. Hey guys, tonight we're plunging into a frozen wonderland that's more daunting than facing your relatives at a holiday gathering. Imagine, if you will, being swallowed by snowflakes thicker than your aunt's fruitcake, while your home stands stoically, defying the elements like a stubborn toddler refusing to share their favorite toy. Yes, we're diving headfirst into the whimsical world of indigenous engineering on the Great Plains from 1750 to 1850 AD, where the snow falls with all the grace of a hippo in a ballet class, clumsy, yet oddly spectacular. Before we cozy into this hilariously absurd tale, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're tickled by the outrageously creative survival strategies of yore. Only if you truly enjoy it, of course. We appreciate the clicks, but wouldn't want anyone to feel pressured. Now, I invite you to dim your lights, put on your fan, and wrap a blanket around yourself tighter than those layers of wool folks wore back in the day. Let me ask you this. Ever tried digging your car out from 6 feet of snow and realized you've unwittingly signed up for a full-body workout? Or experienced those moments when you thought, surely I can survive one more winter without buying a proper snow shovel, right before almost getting buried alive in an avalanche of snow? And what about your loving family members, each wrapped in blankets, bickering over who controls the television remote, while outside, the weather demands your full attention? Congratulations! You've just woken up in 1825, ensconced in a marvelous cone-shaped abode that's standing proud against the snowy onslaught like a Renaissance sculpture amidst modern graffiti. While the snow dances down from the gray sky, it mysteriously slides off your hide-covered roof instead of piling up, because, surprise, the geometry of this remarkable shelter is the engineering marvel you never knew you needed. Amidst the swirling chaos of the winter storm, your home stands steadfast, drawing on a design that even the architects of yore would applaud. Picture the conical shape of your shelter, a natural aerodynamic wonder. It's like your house has taken notes from the best design classes on Earth, maintaining itself with the ease of a seasoned barista frothing milk for a cappuccino, while you remain blissfully oblivious. As the snow cascades like an excited toddler releasing confetti at a birthday party, the collected weight never looms as a threat against your domicile. Beneath this clever roof,
It's cozy and serene, a stark contrast to the white clouds swirling outside, making the world seem more like a chaotic snow globe. You could almost hear the drifts piling around you like disapproving relatives stacking up on the couch, always just a little too close for comfort. The craftsmanship of your dwelling deserves a moment of awe, don't you think? Fashioned from sturdy wooden beams and topped with animal hides, this wonder of architecture not only shields you from the howl of the storm, but also invites laughter and warmth on those long, frigid nights. And speaking of warmth, let's not forget the flickering lanterns and that delightful little fireplace crackling in the corner, offering warmth like the arms of an overly affectionate grandma who refuses to let you escape her grasp without a few cookies first. But alas, while you and your family snuggle deeper into your woolen layers, those tiny snowflakes tumbling down like mischievous pixies have an agenda all their own. They hit the roof with a dull thud, serving as nature's reminder that every flake could be an uninvited guest at your winter soiree. A potential snowman waiting to happen, depositing ice cubes at your doorstep that could rival your worst hangover. Still, you peek outside, enchanted by the delightful mayhem of generous snowfall. The flakes pirouette through the air with a grace that feels unsettlingly reminiscent of your third cousin during the family dance-off last Christmas. Bless her heart. The beauty of it all steals your breath, with unique patterns swirling together like a masterful art piece, just before they fall and stick together in the tragic compliance of winter's whim. But here's the kicker. Despite the tempest raging outside, your cozy interior serves as a bastion of creativity and hilarity against the winter's fury. No need for dull board games or sitcoms filling the hours. Imagine, instead, the children outside grabbing snowballs as if preparing for Winter Olympics, each one a potential disaster waiting to happen, all while planning a snow versus indoor war strategy to determine who can launch the biggest snowball attack. Uh-oh, you chuckle to yourself. Competition has now devolved into Olympic-level chaos. Let the best snow warrior win. Listen closely. The cacophony of wind outside transforms into background music, the soundtrack of your cozy winter hibernation. As you huddle deeper into your multi-layered attire, it's hard not to appreciate the absurdity of it all. It's like an elaborate dance party, but instead of hitting the dance floor, you're just trying to remember if your last winter hairdo confused your head for a walking snow globe. Current mood, adorable penguin status. So here you are, munching on imaginary cocoa-flavored marshmallows, snuggled up like a burrito, all while the ferocious storm rages outside. Life is a delightful balance, isn't it? Between the laughter of warmth and the unforgiving chill of winter, snug inside your marvel of home, while the snowdrifts create a sight that's equal parts beautiful and annoying. As the evening veers towards slumber and the howling wind becomes a warming lullaby, the adventure continues, even if just in the realm of dreams, where snowy winter competitions mirror the hilarity of everyday life. So, cozy up, dear listener. Embrace the whimsy of history and drift into a land where snowmen come alive at night for their own gossip sessions, and the frost becomes just another comedic character in the endless performance of life. Sweet dreams to you, winter warriors. Chapter 15. Hide and Seek with the Snow. Welcome back, brave snow warriors. As you nestle deeper into your comfy layers, whether those are blankets, your partner's old sweatshirt, or perhaps a mishmash of all the garments hiding at the bottom of your dresser, it's time to dive into another delightful escapade. Picture a scene where practicality meets an impressive sense of style, like a cat wearing a tuxedo while simultaneously tripping over its own paws. Tonight we embark on a laugh-filled journey, revealing the artistry behind draping heavy buffalo hides over wooden frames in a meticulously crafted ritual that is more impressive than a perfectly timed TikTok dance. Imagine a team of ingenious artisans, dedicated, on the outskirts of what we now call the Great Plains, around the years 1750 to 1850 AD, skillfully transforming the remnants of bison into cozy shelters. Yes, what once walked majestically across these plains now plays an essential role in turning winter woes into winter wows. Indeed, let's pause for a moment to appreciate just how clever these folks were. After all, if you think your blanket fort skills rival those of a 10-year-old, I'm here to inform you that these builders were layering buffalo hides with the sort of precision that would make even a jigsaw puzzle jealous. Ever tried aligning fitted sheets on a bed? It's like wrestling a bear while balancing a tower of dishes. Everyone's tired, there's grunting, and nobody wins. But here, in our historical escapade, the emphasis was on fitting those massive hides in an overlapping manner that thwarted the ferocious wind at every seam. You might wonder what this process must have looked like, as your imagination conjures up a whimsical scene. Picture lean, sinewy characters bouncing around piles of buffalo hides like over-caffeinated squirrels. With careful attention, they toss the heavy skins over a wooden frame, each one expertly layered like a delectable lasagna of warmth and protection. Not a single flake of snow shall dare slip through those seams, while the wind huffs and puffs outside like an asthmatic dragon, a little too proud of its own fiery breath. However, let's not misunderstand the stakes here. Life wasn't as simple as tossing a couple of hides over your buddy's lawn chair and calling it a day. Each seam needed to flow just so, allowing the wind to glide over them rather than snatch at any unfortunate crevices. The kind of attention to detail that would put the most discerning interior decorator to shame. Imagine hunting for the perfect throw pillow without realizing you're about to be up against a winter storm. These builders, however, had no room for error. As you settle into the warm comfort of your imaginative abode, it becomes apparent that the aesthetics of functionality form a gorgeous orchestra, like a vastly more practical version of Cirque du Soleil, only instead of juggling doves, they were draping hides with elan. The soft, warm scent of buffalo, mingled with the crisp air, was unmistakably inviting. It coaxed you in with promises of safety, while mocking the bitter chill outside. Much like that one friend who always manages to show up to parties 5 minutes late, but somehow obtains all the best snacks. And then, as if by divine design, you feel a slight chill on your cheek. The aforementioned howling winds from outside find a new artistic direction. Each gust flows over the hides with the grace of a river dancer, pushing back against the professional-grade barricade crafted by the Indigenous engineers. Oh, how well they knew their materials. Like a watercolor artist perfecting their palette, each buffalo hide, heavy and warm, interacted harmoniously within the constraints of its structure. It's easy to overlook the simple joys of the elements when the living are too busy unfurling their umbrellas, hoping for drizzles instead of downpours. I mean, who can resist a good shake of a palm tree in the breeze? But here, you hardly need to worry about drizzles. You are nestled beneath an intricate construction that ties beauty with the drama of surviving Arctic winters, rendering every snowflake falling outside as nothing more than a cold reminder of the world's chaotic charm. As you soak in this peculiar historical artistry, one can almost hear the merry laughter of children dancing in the snow outside, while their elders, tucked away within the confines of this rustic refuge, pondered whether they had left their supper outside to freeze, contemplated the deep philosophical quandary of which relatives would prefer your odd casserole, and debated whether wearing every cloak they owned would truly improve their chances of warmth. Spoiler alert, it wouldn't. But imagine the stories that morphed into legends around the flickering light of a fire inside. Remember that one time the entire family went to bed and woke up buried in hides, like an unintentional winter burrito? Laughter would pulse through the air, turbulent as the blustering snow swirling beyond their expertly woven hide walls. As these engineers harnessed their creative genius, they forged not just architecture, but a community wrapped tightly against the wrath of the cold, with memories as resilient as the buffalo hides that shielded them. Life in the Great Plains wasn't merely about endurance. It was a persistent pursuit of joy amidst the chaos and absurdity of life. So, take a moment to appreciate the absurdity alive in today's world. From expertly mangled attempts at warmth in a winter home to the overcomplicated existence of juggling tasks like a circus performer. Because, at the end of the day, just as those buffalo hide shelters thrived despite Arctic challenges, perhaps our own cozy corners of comfort amidst the chaos might find room for a little laughter too. Chapter 16. The Breezy Buffalo Hide House. Hey guys, tonight we'll explore something cooler than your ex's heart, the genius of indigenous engineering in the Great Plains, specifically the marvelous buffalo hide houses. Imagine warm days where the chilling winds are tamed by a flexible architectural wonder, much like the yoga master you tell yourself you could be someday, but you keep forgetting your mat in that corner of your living room. So, before we dive into this cozy capsule of history, if you find yourself chuckling along with me tonight, do give that like button a gentle tap and whisper sweet nothings to that subscribe option. Only if you actually enjoy this, though. No pressure. Now, dim the lights, put on a fan, if you want to recreate that delightful Arctic breeze effect, and settle in comfortably, because, my friend, we are about to embark on a laugh-filled foray into 1750s to 1850s life on the Great Plains. Did you ever find yourself rolling out a sleeping bag on a camping trip, only to realize you've somehow barricaded yourself in with 3 friends and a wild raccoon? How about that stage of maneuvering through your own kitchen in the dead of night, armed with minimal light to avoid stubbing your toe? What if I told you this was a normal day in the life of a Great Plains inhabitant who had to master cozying up within the confines of a buffalo hide house? Congratulations! You've just woken up on a warm day in the heart of the Great Plains. The sun is shining down, perhaps as brilliantly as your neighbor's obnoxiously gaudy lawn flamingos, and the trickle of cool breezes have inspired a wonderfully unconventional architectural decision. The bottom edge of the buffalo hide covering has been rolled up, allowing a refreshing gust to serenade your senses. It's like your very own natural air conditioning unit, only it doesn't need a filter, a power bill, or the vague existential crisis that comes with the latest tech updates. But let's get one thing clear. This majestic hide house isn't just a roof over your head. Oh no, it's a living masterpiece. This flexible structure morphs and adjusts based on the whims of Mother Nature and your ever-changing moods, akin to trying to find the exact white balance while brightening an Instagram selfie at a family reunion. It bulges and contracts, thickening to withstand biting winds or shedding layers when the weather decides to behave itself. This architecture is more impressive than that time you piled a mountain of pillows on your couch for the ultimate movie night. Each buffalo hide, beautifully draped, interlocks with precision, creating a barrier that would make NASA proud. While you've likely experienced the discomfort of an off-center duvet, these builders had perfected the layering of hides to such a degree that even the fiercest storms would stand down, feeling just a tad embarrassed to face this marvel of engineering. Imagine stepping inside, a warm cocoon promising respite from the Arctic chaos outside. The aroma of freshly buffed bison mingles with the shadows of laughter and camaraderie. Sounds perfect, right? But let's not kid ourselves. Everything comes at a cost. A buffalo hide house required tenacity and a good deal of elbow grease. It was a full team effort involving skill sets that perfectly unrolled along the lines of organization, dexterity, and perhaps an uncanny ability to dodge thumb injuries. As you breathe deeply, you can almost hear those artisans strategizing like builders of a non-existent high-stakes competition. All right. Who can throw the hides over the frame without getting caught in the flaps? Bonus points for style and agility. Just picture it. A cluster of nimble figures bouncing around like overly elasticized bunnies, their competitive spirit cranked up higher than your aunt's interest in your dating life. But the level of sophistication didn't stop at achieving that all-important air circulation. Oh no. As per usual, There's always one overachiever in the group ready to take things to the next level. Allow the winds to swirl and dance outside, and inside, the warmth embraces you like your grandma's favorite cozy hug. These ingeniously crafted homes were layered not just for warmth, but with a keen sense of aesthetics, like a bison-themed Pinterest board come to life. Indeed, the buffalo hide house was not only a refuge from the harsh realities of winter, but a canvas, a theatrical stage where stories unfolded. Families would gather around firesides, spinning tales doused in nostalgia and occasional hints of dramatic flair. Perhaps someone would declare, "Do you remember that time Grandma nearly set her hair on fire trying to toast that supersized marshmallow?" Laughter would erupt, harmonizing beautifully with the crackling fire, a melody of joy that savored the absurdity of life, much like we enjoy those tiny orange cheese puff snacks that mysteriously appear at every gathering, no matter how inappropriate they seem. So as the sun sets on another glorious day, and that delicious, fresh breeze dances playfully through the edges of your buffalo hide home, remember that the heart beneath all this grandeur is community, creativity, and a shared laughter, stemming from the simple joy of warmth and togetherness. Just as their buffalo hides beautifully embraced the chaos of the weather outside, let us find laughter in the little absurdities within our own lives, like tripping over the family pet after turning off the light. Simply put, amidst the winter whirlwinds and wild tales, a warm heart and a hearty laugh were the only essentials needed, not just for survival, but for crafting a life remarkably rich in color and chaos. So hail to the Buffalo Hide House, the ultimate structure of comfort and whimsy.
Chapter 17, The Frosty Fortress of the Great Plains. Hey guys, tonight we plunge deeper into the heart of the icy wilderness, where a magnificent creature roams like a fluffy tank. A buffalo, standing stalwart in a frozen field, its massive frame cloaked in thick brown fur and adorned with a frosty sparkle that could put a disco ball to shame. Truly, this majestic beast is nature's very own winter armor, protecting the plains people from the spine-chilling embrace of Arctic winters. If you're picturing a cozy, snow-laden cabin right now with hot cocoa flowing like liquid warmth, think again, because we're about to set off on an adventure that's more complex than a plot twist in a daytime soap opera. So, warm yourself up, and let's get ready to discover how this hulking ball of fluff became the unsung hero of warmth, resilience, and food, accompanied by a hefty dose of laughter. Before we kick off this frosty tale, have you ever thought about how hard it is to stay warm during a winter camping trip? You know, the kind where you wake up and your sleeping bag feels like it's auditioning for a role in a horror movie. How about that moment when you try to set up your tent but end up wrestling with it like it's a petulant octopus? Let's not even start on the morning coffee that turns into an accidental face wash when it spills as you stumble around trying to find your shoes. Well, congratulations. You've just been transported to the 1750s, smack dab in the middle of the Great Plains, where life is about as disorganized as trying to assemble IKEA furniture without the instructions. Ah, the plains. You've just awoken on a frosty morning, a beautiful sight, but your toes are basically icicles in protest. And standing in the distance, like a frozen king overseeing his chilly domain, is the buffalo. This not-so-gentle giant is a feast and a fortress rolled into one, and if Mother Nature is on the attack, then buffalo hides are your shield. Can you imagine an army of buffalo mystically marching around, serving as protective gear and dinner all at once? It's a multitasking miracle that would make even the most ambitious modern-day influencer green with envy. So there you are, snuggled in your buffalo hide house after a cozy, communal evening filled with storytelling, probably discussing that time Uncle Joe tried to ride a buffalo because he thought it would impress the ladies. Spoiler alert, it didn't go well. But now, you slip into the chilly morning as the sun peeks over the horizon like an over-caffeinated barista ready for its day. That's the moment you notice the magnificent buffalo, just standing there,
flicking snowflakes off its back like it's some kind of boisterous snowman ready to party. Every inch of that buffalo is a gift from nature, a source of warmth that can't be beaten, even by those fancy electric blankets you tell yourself are a solid investment. Imagine crafting your own clothes from those shimmering hides, as warm and comforting as a sibling hug, but without the awkward, "what's that smell?" vibe. Each piece of the hide is durable and flexible, allowing for all the hustle and bustle of prairie life. You can hear your neighbors cheerfully arguing about the best way to fashion a parka, or clumsily stumbling through your own attempts at hide making. Ever tried sewing with frozen fingers? It's like threading pasta while riding a roller coaster. Almost impossible, and definitely absurd. But back to our buffalo. This beast isn't just an MVP for warmth, it's also the ultimate snack bar on legs. From savory roasted meat to tongue-warming stews, it's like living in a never-ending buffet where no one ever complains about portion sizes. Just think, when someone grumbles about, "What's for dinner?" you can cheerfully reply, "Well, there's a hefty buffalo outside, so let's get cracking." Or is that a euphemism for a buffet we can't break into? Now let's paint the scene in your head with richer strokes of absurdity. Picture yourself attempting to tame frozen chunks of meat with icy hands, resembling a sad version of Edward Scissorhands weaving an intricate tapestry of beef jerky. Are you going to experience the thrill of bison cuisine? Or just the failure of an amateur butcher with numbed fingers? Either way, laughter is guaranteed. And isn't that the prairie way? And speaking of ways, the Plains people mastered the art of communal living, sharing not just food, but also a ridiculous plethora of laughter. Imagine evenings where you recount the time your friend lost a bet and wore a buffalo hide as a cloak, strutting around like the latest fashion icon, completely unaware of the jokes being told behind their back. It's the stuff of legends and fantastic storytelling fodder. But let's be honest, amidst all the warmth and laughter, those buffalo hides do more than keep the cold at bay. They embrace the chaos of life, reminding us to appreciate the small things, like a warm meal shared among friends, or the joy of laughing at someone else's buffalo-inspired antics. So, as the wind howls outside your cozy buffalo hide house, remember that sometimes all you need to stand tall against the bitter cold is a bit of good humor, a sense of community, or simply a massive, fluffy animal to keep the winter chill from creeping in. You know what they say, a belly full of buffalo and a heart full of laughs can conquer any frigid winter day. Chapter 18. The Buffalo Blanket Conundrum. Hey guys, tonight prepare for a frosty escapade even chillier than your last family reunion, where ice sculpting contests turned into icicles of awkward silence. We're diving into the world of the indigenous peoples of the Great Plains, specifically the ingenious ways they harness the warmth of an animal that looks like Mother Nature's oversized comforter, the buffalo. But before we get knee-deep in snowflakes and fur, let's give a shout-out to those contemporary dilemmas that make us all chuckle in exasperation. Ever tried to keep your house cozy in winter without accidentally converting it into a walk-in freezer? What's the deal with heating bills that could fund a small country? And what about those times you thought a heated blanket would be the ultimate winter upgrade, only to find it just gave you the illusion of warmth while your toes remained icicle replicas? Well, congratulations! You've just fallen into the frosty fabric of 1750s Great Plains life, where keeping warm involved a whole lot more than pressing a button. Imagine waking up in your buffalo hide home. Yes, that ancient structure woven together with bits of nature's finest materials, after another lively recounting of Uncle Joe's awkward buffalo stunt the evening before. Greet the day as you peel away the layers of buffalo hide that encase you like a heavy hug from a grizzly. Too bad the effects of sleep make you lethargic, as you'd kind of prefer emerging like a glorious butterfly, rather than looking like a slightly confused meatball. But there's a reason you're cocooned in that cozy fortress. Have you ever plopped down on your couch and instantly wondered if the cushions could double as sleeping bags? Well, bison fur, the original plush. The buffalo, my friends, possesses fur so thick and luxurious that snowflakes drop onto it and chill out like they're at an instant nature spa. Those fluffy sentries don't even bother to melt. It's nature's way of telling you, stay warm, I've got you covered. Let's rewind for a moment here. Picture this. You're nestled in your buffalo hide abode, and as you gaze out the window, or what passes for a window, considering it might be a clump of hides, you actually hear the sound of laughter echoing through the frosty air. That's right, the community spirit is as warm as the buffalo hides themselves. It's kind of like a chaotic holiday gathering. Everyone's there, from the serious ones talking about the weather as if it were a divine decree, to the ones who can't stop arguing over whether Uncle Joe should attempt to ride a buffalo again. While you're dreaming of finding the perfect way to make pancakes in your drafty interior, your neighbors are already brainstorming how to use the precious buffaloes further. Those glorious beasts not only provide warmth, but also play the starring role in your breakfast. Imagine the smell of smoky buffalo bacon wafting through the air, making your mouth water and leaving you torn between sleek survival strategies and breakfast of champions ambitions. But let's be real here. Ever tried cooking breakfast outdoors when it's crazily cold? You become a personal icicle trying to make a meal that would require Olympic-level dexterity and more than one hand. One misstep, and you could unintentionally recreate that silent, dramatic moment in a bad rom-com where someone slips on a patch of ice, only without the tropical getaway at the end of the film. As you gather with the rest of your tribe, ready to devour that buffalo feast, there's always that one individual who takes forever to get their act together. You just know they're the type to yell, "I swear I'll be ready in 5 minutes," while struggling with buffalo hooves and fur like it's a wrestling match with Jell-O. The suspense is real, folks. The group dynamic here resembles a reality show, everyone navigating the highs and lows of communal life while laughing over the ridiculous events of the past. Still seated snugly in your buffalo cloak, you think about the fabric itself. It wraps around you like a warm hug from Grandma, or a hug that Grandma would give if she had muscles like a bison. That's not where it stops. The finest part of all is that this insulation traps the body heat deep within. It's like wearing your very own thermal mug made of bison, which, let's face it, is a lot more environmentally friendly than using a microwave. Now, picture the moment of epic realization. As you decide to venture outside, and the icy air bites at your cheeks, it occurs to you just how mesmerizing that thick buffalo fur really is. The cold, as expected, whimpered and staggered away, easily overwhelmed by the formidable warmth radiating from your trusted buffalo blanket. Perhaps this is why they often say that being a buffalo is both a blessing and a curse, as they give warmth and comfort while also serving as the main dish at dinner. As the wind howls outside, you feel a peculiar sense of solidarity with those massive, fluffy animals. They know life's entire seasonal challenges. In this frozen valley, layered with laughter, camaraderie, and some brilliantly absurd moments, outsmarting an Arctic wind is simply a matter of warm buffalo hides, slapstick routines, and plates overflowing with food. So, the next time you find yourself bundled up at home, trying to survive the harshness of winter, just remember, there's an entire community of indigenous buffalo-hugging ancestors who've got your back. Because the surest way to conquer winter isn't via fancy tech or linens. It's through shared laughter, delicious feasts, and the wisdom of one very fluffy animal. And if Uncle Joe has anything up his sleeve, you can bet we've turned the chilly calamities of winter into a tapestry of hilariously cozy memories. Chapter 19. A Stitch in Time. Bagging the Buffaloes. Hey guys, tonight we're about to venture into a world where the needles are larger than your morning coffee cup and the leather is tougher than your uncle's old work boots. Welcome to the days of buffalo hide craftsmanship. Get ready to embrace an era when sewing was a legitimate Olympic sport, and your biggest worry was the weather, or accidentally jabbing yourself in the finger during an intense session of stitching. Now, before we embark on this ancient crafting extravaganza, let's take a moment to reflect on our own lives. Ever tried to assemble IKEA furniture with nothing but a vague set of instructions and a tool you have no idea how to use? What's up with those extra screws? It's like they're just there for moral support. Or how about the joys of online shopping, when that luscious faux fur blanket arouses your desires only to arrive at your doorstep looking like a peel-off mask stuck in the before phase? Well, hold on to your tools, because this is going to be a much more satisfying and crucial stitching experience. So, dim those lights, find your comfiest spot, and let the soothing sounds of my voice guide you back to the Great Plains, where you've just woken up in 1785. Congratulations! You're now part of a community that thrives amid snow and buffalo, where the art of sewing isn't just a hobby, it's practically a survival skill. The morning sun breaks through the chill of dawn, casting a warm glow over the landscape, and you can hear the hum of women gathered, their laughter swirling like the last traces of winter wind. Before you, large needles glint in the sunlight, as if they're vying for attention in a blacksmith's forge. The women, all skilled artisans, are in the process of stitching together buffalo hides, creating vast thermal shields that would make modern synthetic materials weep with envy. The sheer craftsmanship of these hardy ladies tops the list of the coolest things you didn't know you needed to appreciate. Imagine standing among them, feeling the rough yet familiar texture of buffalo hide beneath your fingertips, which now have an unexpected talent for threading needles with the precision of a hawk swooping down on hapless prey. As you deftly maneuver the needle through layers of thick leather, it becomes clear that anything less would just be, well, a less effective buffalo shield. Who needs goose down when you can have overlapping buffalo hide layered like the world's best burger, only without the 1,000-calorie guilt? Picture their colorful surroundings, a rustic realm where the atmosphere is imbued with the scent of fresh leather mixed with hints of sage and the faint smokiness of last night's fire. Each stitch they put in is like a rhythmic chant, echoing the passage of time and centuries of tradition. Every poke and jab communicating the love and labor behind these vast, fluffy wonders. Now, let's sprinkle in an absurd comparison. You know how difficult it is when you're sewing a button back onto your shirt without being able to locate the needle? Imagine doing that with a buffalo hide, while someone is simultaneously chanting motivational phrases like, "You must believe you can quilt." It's about as productive as trying to fix a car with a rubber chicken. But here, amidst laughter and thrill, those buffalo hides are transformed from mere animal byproducts into stunning pieces of craftsmanship, uniting the community with warmth and style. Finally, your efforts lead to the completion of an enormous buffalo blanket, a masterpiece that feels like the very embodiment of sheer bliss. You're exhausted, but grinning like a child in a candy store. It cushions you as you sit down for a well-deserved rest, your body enveloped in the essence of buffalo. Thank you, Mother Nature, for providing not just warmth, but a subtle reminder of where your food comes from. Now, let's talk about the inherent cleverness of building a thermal shield from buffalo hides. Did you know that this wasn't just about sheer art? No. This was an engineering marvel of its time. The hides bead rain and shed moisture better than anyone could have imagined, like wearing a high-tech jacket designed for drenching downpours. It's all very high performance, without the fancy labels or marketing gimmicks. You won't find any Buffalo Performance Gear, now with extra insulation ads around here. Instead, every hide is like a badge of honor, telling the world that you've survived winter with style. As laughter ebbs and flows around you, you might overhear someone saying, "Now we wait for Uncle Joe to bring us dinner in this fine creation." And isn't that just like life? The triumphs of your incredible cloak are soon overshadowed by thoughts of food. You half listen, daydreaming of how this massive blanket might save you from the horrors of bitter frostbite, only to realize that Uncle Joe is perpetually late due to a 2 bologna sandwich event you may or may not want to witness. The playful banter continues,
filled with jokes about how no buffalo has ever actually escaped from the home-cooked meal, and the air is thick with camaraderie. It's all a reminder that warmth isn't solely about the plush embraces of buffalo hide. It's as much about the connections among those who share laughter, stories, and possibly more buffalo than they could eat in a lifetime. So, the next time your cozy sweatshirt fails to perform during a winter's chill, consider our buffalo hide heroes, who stitched together not just blankets, but a community built on warmth and laughter. Amidst all the stitching and sewing, they transformed necessity into art, proving that sometimes the greatest creations come from simply wrapping each other in layers of history, heritage, and a whole lot of buffalo. You can't make this up.
Chapter 20. A Cozy Conundrum in a Teepee. Hey guys, tonight we're hopping into a world more layered than your favorite lasagna, and cozier than your aunt's living room after she's had too many cups of chamomile tea. We're diving straight into the ingenious engineering of indigenous peoples on the Great Plains, where even the winter wind might as well have been a polite house guest instead of an Arctic marauder. But first, before we get too comfy, let me ask, have you ever tried staying warm in a tent during a blizzard? It's like wrapping yourself in a sopping wet sponge and hoping the universe grants you mercy. Or perhaps you found yourself bundled up in 7 layers of clothing that would make an onion jealous, only to realize that all you needed was a cozy onesie and a cup of hot chocolate? Now that we're on the topic, ever wondered if there's a magic trick to keeping your hands warm without turning them into frozen claws? Imagine this. You're sitting inside a beautifully crafted teepee, and the wind is whipping through the snow like it's auditioning for a part in a thriller movie. Yet somehow, inside this carefully constructed dwell, you're snug as a bug in a rug. You might even be holding a ridiculously oversized cup of warm brew, grinning like you've just found the land of chocolate after an exhausting scavenger hunt. Congratulations! You've just woken up in the bustling year of 1800, surrounded by vast plains blanketed in snow, and your abode for the night is a magnificent teepee, built with the kind of expertise that would put high-end architects to shame. As you stretch your limbs, it's clear you've basically just woken up in nature's very own comfort zone. Speaking of comfort zones, those cozy walls are not just there for looks. Oh no. They feature a delightful double-wall insulation system that's essentially an Arctic survival hack before hacks were even a thing. Let's pause for a moment to set the scene right. You blink your eyes open and witness the intricate patterns of the inner lining of the teepee swaying gently in the ambient light, like a fabric dance party. This double layer, the savvy engineering marvel native to these peoples, traps a pocket of still air, making the inside feel like a warm spring day, all while the wind outside is throwing a seasonal tantrum like a toddler at nap time. What do you think keeps the teepee toasty? Is it the abundant spirit of teamwork? Is it fairy dust? Nope. This ingenious design functions like that ultra-modern insulation in your aunt's new house that promises to keep your heating bills low while still allowing for the occasional awkward family get-together. It's all about the thermodynamic wonders of layering. Just picture, every winter evening you'd be glued to your spot, cozy as a burrito wrapped in a warm tortilla, while the howling wind grumbles like a cinematic villain outside. As you lean back against the thick, soft fabric, the sound of laughter and muted conversation fills your ears like the gentlest lullaby. Beneath the layers, you can almost feel how the materials breathe, adjusting to the temperature like a master yoga instructor effortlessly flowing from pose to pose. Ever tried going through your morning stretching routine at home only to realize your back doesn't bend that way? This is nothing like that, I assure you. Now, let's talk about outside, where the icy fingers of winter don't play nice. Ever experienced that cringe-worthy sensation when you step outside in January? It's like stepping into a medieval icebox, a place where your hopes of having a delightful jaunt are instantly crushed under the slyness of frostbite. You might find yourself questioning your choices. How did I decide that a single layer of sweatpants was enough today?
Well, spoiler alert, it wasn't. But in here, my friend, warmth reigns supreme. The cold wind outside is a master at whipping up drama, yet it's nothing more than a background player when it comes to your glorious indoor experience. It's the contrast of the elements that amplifies the cozy experience. Maybe it's a little like the difference between the steamy windows of a cozy cafe and the frigid sidewalks outside. One offers promise, while the other challenges it like a game of rock, paper, scissors. In the world outside our beautiful teepee, the snow piles up in layers, thick enough to make even a modern snowman envious. But you, my friend, are tucked away like the last remaining cupcake in a box, safe, warm, and just awaiting the right moment to shine. The air is filled with stories, laughter, and the delightful aroma of something unspeakably delicious bubbling away on the fire, mixing with the smoke and snow outside like an earthy cologne only Mother Nature could conjure. And as the hours pass, the chilling wind may bellow and whine, but in here, you're the host of your own evening gala. Isn't it fascinating? This simple double-wall system isn't just an insulating method, but a testament to the cleverness of human ingenuity, facing threats from Mother Nature's icy breath. You can truly appreciate that while your modern friends are heating up their apartments with complicated thermostat settings, you've just simplified your life by building a cozy fortress covered in hides. You see, life isn't just about comfort, but also about ingeniously outsmarting the elements, while laughing at their feeble attempts to chill your vibe. So, as you cozy up and embrace the warmth of your surrounding walls, consider the wonder of sweet.
Chapter 21. Smoke Signals of Ingenious Insulation. Hey there, cozy travelers. Tonight, we're venturing into the fascinating world of indigenous engineering, where the tips of ingenuity reach new heights, quite literally. We'll find ourselves in a beautifully crafted teepee, a haven of warmth amidst the ridiculous chill of the Great Plains. It's almost like stepping into your grandma's living room, but smaller and with far fewer cat hairs, if we're being honest. Picture this. You're nestled inside a snug teepee, where the wind howls outside like it's auditioning for the role of a dramatic villain in the next big blockbuster. But fear not, those gusts may have dreams of frostbite, but you are blissfully unaware of their antics. Why? Because the clever design of your temporary abode is working its magic better than any heated blanket you could find in a store. But let's take a moment to ponder some delightful questions. Have you ever wondered why smoke from a fire can feel like a warm embrace, while trudging outside makes you contemplate your life's choices? Or have you faced a dilemma about how to engineer a fire that emits delicious scents, but doesn't leave you coughing like a sad, tragically awkward walrus? And here's a real knee slapper. Have you ever tried to convince a stubborn cat that it should start using your designated warm spot instead of the delightful pile of freshly laundered clothes? Congratulations, my warm-hearted friend. You've just awakened in the splendid year of 1810, where the chill outside is less romantic winter wonderland and more submission to nature's icy fury. Yet, inside this piece of artful construction, you find yourself wrapped in warmth, cocooned in layers of meaning. It's like an architectural hug. Who knew that was a thing? Let's take a closer look at that fire, shall we? Ever thought about how fire can be less of a cozy companion and more of a rebellious teenager if left unchecked? Fear not. Our indigenous engineers capitalized on the fundamentals of aerodynamics long before it was a trendy topic at brunch. Smoke rises gracefully from the fire at the center of your teepee, winding upward like an athletic ribbon in a competition you never signed up for, through adjustable flaps at the top. These flaps are nothing short of engineering marvels. With a couple of long poles, oddly reminiscent of those flimsy antennas that barely catch a signal down by the river, you can control your indoor weather. Want to pull in some fresh air? Up go the flaps. Want the smoke to zip outside like a kid avoiding chores? Down they go. This isn't just ingenious, it's practically wizardry. If only they'd invented the remote control too. Imagine flipping a switch to make the smoke disappear faster than Monday mornings. What does the air smell like, you ask? Ah, the captivating aroma of birch and sage wafts lazily about, wrapping around you like a cashmere scarf on a chilly day. With each breath, the delicate smoke dances between the layers of your mind, lulling you into an irresistible tranquility reminiscent of a dreamy afternoon nap after a sumptuous lunch. But let's dig a little deeper. How does this cozy engineering feel? Imagine being tucked inside a plush blanket, each fiber lovingly crafted to give you an illusion of snugness, without the heavy weight that convinces your arms to take an involuntary sabbatical. The teepee acts as the perfect vessel for warmth, capturing it at ground level, while outside, the winter wind shakes its fists angrily like an over-caffeinated grandparent trying to prove a point. The contrast is astonishing. While above you, a majestic ceiling of winter rages, flurries swirling like a chaotic ballroom dance, inside, you could host a delightful soiree complete with marshmallows, cocoa, and humorous banter. It's the ultimate atmospheric divide, akin to stepping into a cushy cafe while a snowstorm turns the world outside into a snow globe. Shaken, not stirred. Let's not forget the subtle magic of layers. Our industrious native artisans understood that creating comfort meant mastering the art of layering, like a fashion-forward model walking down a runway. The double-wall insulation of the teepee can be likened to wearing your comfiest pajama pants under a fancy outfit. Nobody should really know it's happening, yet the impact is monumental. Now, your mind races with the sheer brilliance of it all. Sure, modern-day life revolves around thermal blankets and overpriced insulation, but can we talk about the sheer charm of a home built from nature itself? In comparison, it seems like your friend's fancy house made of bricks and, whatever the latest trend is, looks like an overqualified igloo at an ice block party. Here, you are winning the cozy battle without even trying. As you lean back, engulfed in the warmth and the evocative smell of herbs and resources gently whispering from within, you can almost appreciate the stories shared in this delightful haven. This is the spirit of ingenuity, with a touch of humor that would leave Mother Nature scratching her head in awe. You've become part of a cozy revolution against the icy grip of winter. And darling, you can surely congratulate your inner architect for a job spectacularly done. So, let the outside world quibble with frost and flurries, while you revel in the compact brilliance of your cozy art house masterpiece. It's self-sufficiency at its finest, reminding us all that while Mother Nature can be a real handful, a sprinkle of creativity and humor, a couple of poles, a fire, and a flurry of warm thoughts will keep us snug as the happy bunnies we were born to be. And let's be real. If we could all sleep as soundly as a bear hibernating through winter, the world would be a much more relaxed place. So here we are, in a world where smoke spirals gracefully above your head, and you're wrapped in a feeling of absolute contentment. Just remember, you can't make this up. You can't. Chapter 22. Market Madness in the Heart of Civilization. Hey guys, welcome back to Cozy Corner of History. Tonight, we dive into something heartier than your Aunt Mildred's infamous meatloaf. The bustling marketplace of the Great Plains in the 1800s, where the air is thick with curiosity, the aroma of grilled meats, and a cacophony of vendors arguing louder than the world's loudest alarm clock. So, strap on your imaginary time travel boots and get ready for a steep descent into chaos, absurdity included at no extra charge. But before we crank up the noise machine, why not hit that like button if you find yourself chuckling while contemplating why vendors seem remarkably like your overly enthusiastic relatives at Thanksgiving. And if you enjoy what you hear, do consider subscribing, but only if you genuinely like this kind of silliness. I promise no judgment if you want to keep your secret listening habits just between us. Now, dim those lights, crank up a fan, and do your best impression of a potato lounging on the couch. Let's get comfortable. Picture this. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to navigate a market with more stalls than a modern shopping mall, but without the luxury of overpriced artisanal avocado toast? Or have you ever found yourself pondering if your favorite hoodies would thrive in a world where wool was a premium commodity and donkeys were the Amazon Prime delivery service of their era? Congratulations! You've just woken up in the year 1820, a spectacular time when the spirit of commerce was alive and kicking, or, more accurately, loudly shouting, through the narrow streets of a crowded city. Welcome to your new world, a glorious, lively market where bartering is king and oil wrestlers have nothing on the drama unfolding around you. As you stroll through the buzzing thoroughfare, the smell of charcoal grilling meat strikes you like a friendly slap on the face, or more accurately, like that one friend who insists on hugging you every time they see you. It's an intoxicating blend of sizzling bison steaks, roasted corn, and the inexplicable aroma of happiness that only food can bring. But hold on to your hats, because this haven of culinary delight is about to get wild. The vendors, they're an unruly bunch, shouting like they're auditioning for a part in a very chaotic opera. "Fresh fish, only slightly questionable," bellows one charming seller, trying to entice a pair of bewildered shoppers, while another yells, "Get your handmade bows, guaranteed to shoot arrows as straight as my mother-in-law's judgment." It's a delightful circus of noise, a symphony of desperation folded into a taco of absurdity. And there you are, a playful spectator in this grand game of survival and strategy, where economic survival might just be the most exhilarating sport ever invented. Ever managed a budget at a food festival? Then you know what it's like, except there are no vegan options here, and half. The vendors seem to act like they've just escaped from a Shakespearean drama. As you weave through the throng, let's take a moment to appreciate the aesthetics of this ancient urban jungle. The wooden stalls, cobbled streets that could easily take up permanent residence in your shoes, and braying donkeys that sound oddly resentful for having to schlep goods around like they're in some sort of avian game show. Seriously, if these donkeys had social media, they'd be the influencers of the era, advocating for the pros and cons of carrying overpriced cabbages. And oh, the sounds. If you thought the clattering of your dishwasher was distracting during dinner, you've never seen a team of competitors throwing cabbages like Olympic athletes, all while other vendors cheer them on, claiming the strong aroma proves they're the healthiest competition on the block. In this world, vegetables are not just products, they're athletes fighting for their survival. Picture the gentle chaos unfolding. A child accidentally trips over a wooden crate of apples, sending the fruits rolling like tiny, buoyant warriors as the vendor gasps, clutching his heart like he's just seen a punk's hairdo down at the general store. The crowd erupts in laughter, simultaneously cheering for the apples and mourning the lost profit because, let's face it, no one's getting a refund on ruined dreams today. And while you might think sour grapes are just a metaphor for disappointment, here they are, literally squashed underfoot by fellow market-goers, adding to the rustic charm of the day's entertainment expenses. It's rustic yet relatable, like going to a modern-age farmer's market with every smoothie stall fitting inside a small wagon, while folks negotiate like they're bargaining over which is the best flavor of ice cream. It's the Wild West of barter, and quite frankly, so amusing you can't help but chuckle while feeling a bit smug for being a mere observer. But there's more than just sweet trade gossip buzzing here. You notice a convenient flyer advertising a new trade school training for aspiring talents. Become a professional negotiator at half the price if you bring 2 friends. And you think to yourself, wow, if only they had offered that in high school. Maybe you would have strategically convinced your way to lunch dessert instead of the broccoli of despair. As the sun sets, casting a golden glow over the marketplace, you feel an overwhelming sense of camaraderie. And by camaraderie, I mean witnessing one vendor dramatically arguing with a customer over the quality of his leather goods. "My leather is made from the finest hide, fresher than a morning breeze in the Great Plains," he exclaims. And you can't help but smirk, because nothing says, "I'm serious," like a leather-selling vendor acting as if he just discovered the golden fleece. As you meander through this slightly chaotic citadel of civilization, take a moment to breathe in the commotion, the passion, the life. Here, amidst the clamor and charisma, historical brilliance mingles with everyday mischief, a reminder that this is more than just a thoroughfare. It's a tapestry of resilience, laughter, and yes, a bit of absurdity. So, as you settle into the role of spectator in this heartwarming spectacle of human endurance, remember, it's not just about the goods traded or the deals made. It's about the laughter echoing through the streets and the warmth of shared experiences that bind us together, like a good pair of wool socks on a winter's night. And let's be real, you can't make this up. Chapter 23. A Roman's Balance of Life and Lament. Hey guys, welcome back to the warmth of history's humor-filled embrace, where we dive into something stickier than your cousin Larry's barbecue sauce. The life of a laborer during the tumultuous years of 1750 to 1850. Yes, tonight we're exploring the marketplace of yesteryear, where the stakes were higher than an eagle on espresso, and the food options were less bistro chic and more, I hope that's not what I think it is. But before we venture forth into this delightful time of trading woes and food disappointments, why not give that like button a gentle nudge? It's a bit like coaxing an uninspired llama out of bed, appreciated and slightly bizarre. If you enjoy our quirky forays into history, consider subscribing, though honestly, no pressure. Maybe you just want to keep your peculiar listening habits a secret. We understand. We're all a little enigmatic here. All right, ready? Dim those lights, put on a fan, and get cozy, like the ultimate burrito, minus the cilantro that you keep avoiding. Let's get introspective for a moment, shall we? Have you ever found yourself counting coins like some kind of despondent dragon hoarding treasure? Do you wonder what it was like to barter for essentials, perhaps in a manner reminiscent of Survivor grocery store edition? How about the panic of realizing your budget is limited to what used to be lunch money, and now it's supposed to feed an entire family? Coupled with the absence of just add water meals. Congratulations, you've just woken up in the early 1800s, specifically amid the bustling and, frankly, chaotic market square of a Roman city. Welcome to the era where the clink of coins is music, and the faint scent of despair wafts alongside a delightful medley of old bread and suspicious fish. The first thing that strikes you is the noise, like 1,000 geese quacking at once, but somehow still more musical. Vendors are shouting, their voices rising and falling like a symphony gone delightfully off-key. "Fresh catch of the day!" yells one, and you involuntarily grimace, because there's a highly probable chance that's the same fish that got into a heated argument with the local cat last night. You glance at your palm, a few measly copper coins resting there like lazy roommates who refuse to contribute to the rent. You can already feel the weight of every meal these coins represent. Will it be a hunk of bread? Or perhaps a slightly less sad potato? The tension is palpable, like waiting for your favorite sitcom to resolve that cliffhanger no one asked for. It's a battlefield of existence, and your stakes have never been higher, except maybe during your last board game night. As you step closer to the chaotic stalls, a scent wafts past you. Less fancy soup kitchen and more mystery stew. The vendor is gesturing wildly, trying to convince you that yesterday's vegetable scraps have matured into a delightful, organic experience. Sure, it's appealing enough until you realize you might need a strong stomach or a good excuse to run away. Oh, and let's not forget the delightful charm of tripping over a stray goat. Yes, that's right. In this world of barter, you dodge the local livestock that seem convinced they have a personal vendetta against your shins. You wonder if today is a goat day, or if that's only Wednesdays when they've had too much clover. Time to roll the dice. In this bustling arena, negotiation is an art form, and pros are born. Truly, who needs the stock market when you have the charming unpredictability of market day? Can you imagine making offers with such passion that it'd put contemporary stockbrokers to shame? I'll give you 2 potatoes and my spare hairpin for that one oddly shaped turnip. You ponder, should you even be buying turnips? What if the turnip goes rogue and you wake up with a pet? The energy is infectious,
a blend of stress and hilarity akin to a low-budget slapstick comedy. You see a little child, smooth-brained and covered in dirt, happily throwing apples, seemingly inspired by a secret mission to disrupt the market's decorum. The crowd erupts. Chaos reigns. It's like a high-stakes game of dodgeball, but instead of gym class essentials, you're evading fruits that appear more aerodynamic than you'd ever considered. And you can't help but admire the resourcefulness of these vendors. One particularly colorful character is selling some mysterious concoction claimed to boost vitality. The multicolored liquid barely sloshes in his jar, teetering dangerously when he gestures animatedly. You can't decide what's more alarming, the vendor's enthusiasm or the prospect of imbibing what might be a rainbow's nightmare. Yet this marketplace is also a swirl of camaraderie amid struggle. As you traverse the streets, you overhear snippets of gossip. Did you hear? Old Man Bert's goats are starting a podcast. They've got quite the following on the town square. You smile, because not even a goat can escape the call of modern media. Even back then, there was a hint of absurdity that connects people, much like social media today, minus the online trolling, of course. So as your heart races and your stomach growls louder than your bizarre neighbor's karaoke machine, you realize this market is alive. It's a testament to human resilience, laughter, and creativity. Amid the chaos, it's about making it through another day with a hunk of bread or a questionable turnip that you'll probably regret later. But for now, you're just glad to be part of this intricate dance, knowing every unique moment adds another rich thread to this colorful tapestry of life. Now, let's breathe deep and absorb the absurdity, because, as they say, laughter might just be the most vital currency in our midst. Who knew that surviving the bustling marketplace of yore could
Be filled with such humor. Go on and enjoy the madness, because as always, you just can't make this up. Chapter 24. Bargaining for the bread of life and other perishables. Hey guys, welcome back to the swirling vortex of history where chaos meets comedy and we serve up slices of life that would make even the most stoic philosopher chuckle into their gruel. Tonight, we're diving into a scene as vibrant as a patchwork quilt made from old potato sacks, the market of the Great Plains, circa 1750 to 1850. Yes, you guessed it. This isn't just any ordinary marketplace, but one where the art of negotiation would make a seasoned used car salesman weep with jealousy. Now, before we embark on this delightful journey to a time when Wi-Fi was merely a twinkle in humanity's eye, let's take a moment for a little self-reflection. Ever felt like you were in a high-stakes game where the prize was merely a loaf of day-old bread? Or found yourself negotiating over something so mundane that it could only result in an existential crisis? I mean, who hasn't had a deep philosophical debate over a wilted cabbage? And speaking of negotiations, let's not forget that rewarding yet futile quest for the best deals, like a modern-day treasure hunt, but instead of gold doubloons, it's more akin to searching for marginally fresh vegetables. So, dim those lights, turn on a gentle fan, and let's sink into this historical adventure. Congratulations, you've just woken up in an unbearably hot, wind-swept corner of the Great Plains, where today's menu consists of whatever doesn't smell too offense, be it a loaf of bread or suspiciously squishy produce. Picture it now. The sun hangs low over a rowdy marketplace, the heat shimmering in waves like Grandma Eva's infamous Jell-O salad on a July day. People wander with the same zeal as if they were brandishing swords in a duel, yet the only commanding presence is the constant demand for sustenance. Vendors shout deals louder than an irate rooster at dawn, creating a cacophony that could rival any Saturday morning cartoon. As you enter this pandemonium, your surroundings come alive. You can almost taste the dust floating lazily through the air, mingling with the savory scent of questionable meats and oddly shaped vegetables. Here stands a woman, let's call her Agnes, fiercely bargaining over a basket of wilted vegetables. Not just any ordinary vegetables, mind you, but the kind that are more limp than a particularly tired sock. But hey, she's got her heart set on these greens. After all, last week's selection almost gave her scurvy, and she not so fondly remembers how that turned out. Agnes squints at the vendor, her forehead creased in concentration like she's about to solve a particularly prickly algebra problem under duress. "I'll give you 2 old pennies and a promise that I won't throw a turnip at you for those radishes," she exclaims, wielding her coins like they're the last weapons of defense in an unyielding battle. Vendors around her grin like cats who just spotted a charming laser pointer. They're in their element. This is not just shopping. This is a theatrical performance unfolding in the most absurd way. And Agnes is both the leading lady and fiercely competing against herself. "Radishes? Why, those would be a steal at 4 pennies. Or I could also offer you a half loaf of last week's bread, one that can double as a doorstop." The vendor looks genuinely pleased as he attempts to barter. It's like watching 2 squirrels arguing over the same acorn, entertaining and mildly concerning. Every penny saved feels monumental. It's less like paying for food and more like winning a victory in a war against insatiable hunger. Each blah vegetable and day-old bread loaf feels imbued with hope, like they might one day grow into a miraculous feast, or at least a meal that doesn't immediately bring on digestive regrets. Now, let's take a moment to reflect, shall we? It's like playing a life-sized version of a reality show where budget worries force you to muster your greatest negotiating skills. Who else feels that? The modern equivalent could very well be spotting the last avocado at Whole Foods and calculating what it might cost you to buy a plane ticket, or swear off avocados entirely, should they rise abruptly to a ludicrous price. Back to Agnes. Having secured her greens, she might trade some gossip with nearby ladies while trying to make sense of the swirling chaos around her. Can you imagine? "Did you see Marge's cucumbers? They look like they had a long night out." Laughter drifts through the air, a reminder that the bonds built in adversity can sometimes feel just as significant as any bounty of fresh food. As Agnes continues her negotiations, you notice she's developing a sort of 6th sense about which foods will make it to tomorrow, while the rest get less hopeful looks than a sad-looking potato at a dinner party. She studies each vendor with the care of a hawk, sizing up its dinner, her mind racing with calculations that make quantum physics look like child's play. 2 stalks of corn, some slightly less shriveled carrots, and whatever that strange gourd over there is, she concludes, as she nods her head confidently. The air pulses with energy, a mix of laughter, the sound of coins changing hands, and the faint whisper of a breeze carrying the aroma of promising food. Or maybe it's just the ghost of a cabbage long past. It's a vibrant world woven together by both struggle and humor. Each transaction, a small victory, and each day, a new drama. So while there may be no glamorous gourmet shops in this dusty world, the essence of human determination, resilience, and creativity shines through in every corner. A reminder that even in the dreary corners of existence, armed with nothing but old coins, a smattering of dead vegetables, and a touch of absurdity, laughter and the human spirit shine the brightest. Truly, you can't make this up. Join us next time for another historical adventure where laughter gets served warmer than the bread. Until then, may your dreams be filled with delightful bargains and a healthy supply of laughter. Chapter 25. A Litter of Luxury and Other Peculiarities. Hey guys, welcome back to the wonderful world of historical absurdity, where we dive into a scene that's less about elegance and more about perplexing privilege. Tonight's tale picks up right where we left off, with a wealthy official dressed in a clean white toga, because nothing says, "I'm better than you," quite like clothing that resembles a giant bedsheet. Now, picture this. You're in the heart of a bustling market. But hold on, before you dive headfirst into the fresh produce aisle, let's talk about the unsavory scent wafting through the air. You know, the kind that tickles your nose and hangs around longer than a bad date. If you've ever navigated a grocery store with an almost expired section, multiply that pungency by 10, and you've got yourself a snapshot of this market environment. Surprise! We're not just smelling a little decay, we're in for a sensory adventure. But first, a gentle reminder. If you enjoy these whimsical journeys through time, consider giving us a thumbs up, subscribing, or maybe even leaving a comment about your very own market experiences. You know, the ones where you haggle over the last piece of fruit that's just a whisper away from compost. Only if that tickles your fancy, of course. Now, dive into your comfort zone. Dim those lights and maybe turn on a fan. Yes, let's recreate a rough approximation of an ancient breeze. As you settle in, ponder this. Have you ever wondered what it's like to glide above a market in a litter carried by slaves, while the rest toil in the muck below? Or how many dirty diapers it'd take to clean up a single incident? And what's the appropriate etiquette for ignoring the overarching smell of something that used to be a fruit, but now has truly surpassed its prime? Congratulations! You've just woken up in 18th century Great Plains, and we're about to witness the social hierarchy unfold with all the grace of a penguin trying to tap dance. Here you are, watching a wealthy official lounging on a litter, a contraption so fancy it makes modern recliners look like ancient torture devices. Picture it. The official, draped in his pristine toga as if he'd just emerged from a laundry ad, is perched high above the ground, blissfully unaware of the chaos that envelops the marketplace. His slaves, yes, slaves, bear the burden of moving him through a crowd that resembles a live-action episode of Survivor Grocery Edition. Ever seen someone carry a couch upstairs? Multiply that by the determination of a cat avoiding a bath, only to realize they're living in a literal litter box, and you'll grasp the weight of this endeavor. The poor folk below navigate around him like he's a veritable celebrity at a book signing, dodging rotten fruit and all the remnants of a less-than-ideal food pantry. I mean, at what point did they look down and think, well, at least I'm not the one in a toga with questionable hygiene? To add some comedic flair, think about modern parties where the host makes you step around confused cats and misplaced children's toys. Multiply those hazards by 100 and add a few stray animal droppings. Sounds delightful, doesn't it? As the officials glide along, peasants leap out of the way, recoiling on the ground, diversifying the air with an array of sniffles, part from the stench and part from the overwhelming jealousy of someone never having to soil their feet in the muck. Imagine someone in line at a coffee shop trying to wiggle around a person who's clearly way too enthusiastic about their large drip coffee. The tension, my friends, runs thicker than the aromas wafting through the stalls. Excuse me, sir, could you give the rest of us a chance to breathe air that isn't fortified with your overpriced cologne? You can almost hear them murmur under their breaths. The irony, the more money you have, the less of the world you actually have to experience, might just be the greatest gag of human history. But wait, what's this? As he's being carried, the official drops a coin, sending it clattering down to the ground amid the chorus of gasps. It rolls into the mud, mingling with assorted debris like a gamified treasure hunt gone terribly wrong. The poor folk around him glance at each other. Should they return it? Dive in like it's the Olympics? Suddenly, the whole scene feels reminiscent of a modern-day reality show, where the prize is an all-expenses-paid trip to a rock concert, and everyone else is merely a background actor hoping for their moment of screen time. You simply can't make this stuff up. So there you are, in a society structured like a badly organized game of musical chairs. One person sits on high, while the rest scramble below for status, respect, and the latest in seasonal vegetable fashion. It's a wild landscape of contradictions, privilege juxtaposed with the stench of reality. Not unlike navigating a Sunday brunch where everyone insists on a gluten-free, vegan, upside-down, third-wave coffee experience. And as our official, blissfully unaware of the market chaos beneath him, demands hand-picked delicacies, at prices that would make a modern-day relative faint. Imagine what the peasants might be thinking, raising an eyebrow as they mumbled jokes that would probably get them banished if overheard. So, as you drift into serene slumber, hold on to the imagery of this absurd display of wealth and class amidst the grittiest reality. When you wake up tomorrow, let's hold on to something simple. Despite the chaotic world that we often find ourselves in, there are always moments of humor wrapping around the most absurd of situations. That's a wrap on today's absurd narrative. Until we meet again, may your dreams be filled with well-earned tomfoolery and laughter from the marketplace of life.
As this long day in the past finally settles into night, it's worth pausing to reflect on just how much effort it took simply to survive until sunset. Every moment was shaped by cold fingers, aching backs, stubborn winds, and the quiet worry of whether warmth would last until morning. There was no pause button, no easy comfort, no guarantee that tomorrow would be kinder than today. And yet, somehow, people endured. They laughed through the absurdity of frozen tools, shared jokes beside flickering fires, and turned hardship into habit. They learned to read the land like a trusted friend, shaping shelter not from excess, but from wisdom. Their days were hard, often unforgiving, but never empty. Resilience lived in every careful knot, every shared meal, every decision to adapt rather than surrender. It's easy to smile at the humor tucked between the struggles, the clumsy moments, the small arguments, the simple joys, because laughter has always been one of humanity's most reliable survival tools. Even in the harshest environments, people found ways to make life feel lighter, warmer, and worth continuing. Now, as you rest in the quiet comfort of the present, take a moment to feel gratitude for steady warmth that doesn't depend on wind direction, for walls that don't breathe snow, for light at the flick of a switch, and rest that comes without fear of the cold pressing in. Let the strength of those who came before you fade gently into your thoughts, not as something heavy, but as something reassuring. Their endurance made this moment possible, and as the past grows quieter, allow your breathing to slow, your body to soften, and your mind to drift. The fire dims, the wind calms. Nothing more is required of you tonight. Sleep peacefully.